Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the 394th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm your host, Steve Wellings. Joining me on the call so far, just the one man on his own, Andy Patterson, is here with us, going live on YouTube, 8 o'clock every Sunday evening. Don't forget the Patreon RSS feed updates shortly after the show concludes. Hello to everyone listening through the week on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you are. Welcome to you. Don't forget to leave a review on the podcast player of your choice. Throughout the entire month of October, nothing less than 5 stars is acceptable. Andy, how are you getting on this glorious Sunday evening?
Absolutely tremendous, mate. Absolutely tremendous. Knockouts galore last night, even during the week there, as you're talking about. And of course, the big one coming up next week. It's possibly going to get me up in the middle of the night. It's not going to be my son, unfortunately. It's going to be me getting up by 3, 4 in the morning to watch Lomachenko baptise young Teofimo Lopez. I can't wait to get into this chat for this fight. Really looking forward to that one. A lot of Lopez fans really kind of buying into it and stuff like that, so they're really making it kind of like, probably bring it more to kind of 50-50, but can't wait to talk about that fight. It's absolutely going to be brilliant.
Yes, we are going to put aside quite a lot of stuff so we can have a good discussion after 8:30, because Rapping Rob Kelly's jumping on around 8:30. Ozzy's with us as well. We'll come to him very shortly. He's very welcome. Rob Kelly, as I said, is coming on around the 8:30 mark. So after that, we're going to get stuck straight into Lomachenko Lopez. We had one guest. We had 2 guests. We were down to 1. Looks like we're down to 0 at the moment. Hopefully our guest will be able to jump on and join us. He's having a few issues with the old hands, which tends to happen to boxers, doesn't it? Whenever you're punching people in the head. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Let's have a look who's hanging around there. Tosh Bear Grylls Malone says, where are we able to watch it, Steve? Well, I think if you're talking about Lomachenko Lopez, it's on Fight TV, and other places are available. You might be able to watch it on the radio if you know what you're doing. Shout out to Mickey Redman, Matthew Russell, Tay Games, knocking about there. Me, Andy, Ames and Ben Fruki were on BNTV last night doing a little post-fight pod. If anyone wants to check it out, it's over on Facebook, Twitch and other various locations. Ian Wigley's there, Paul Raftery, Eggy Phil, Boom. Just picking out the selected names here. Good solid 9,000 in the chat. No doubt looking forward to Bellew of the Weeks later. You'll know what's coming. You'll know what's coming later on. If I can hold off that long without playing it beforehand, who knows? I've got a little clip for you. James Tapner's there. Who else is in the chat? Ricky Gravel. Hello, Ricky. How are you? John O'Donovan as well. All the names from the past. Joe Kennedy snapped his Achilles. Could be getting in the ring soon with Javonta Davis. Stacey King. I'd like to give it a boxing channel. That's Andrew there. Alan is here with us as well. Richard Wetton. Sometimes I miss the boys out in the chat. I want to give them a good shout out tonight. Pat on the back as well. 2. Who else? We have Paver. Paver always comes in at the beginning of the chat, leaves us a message. Don't see him. Oh, here's Jason Chahal, Curly Watts, Sean Edwards as well. Yep, let's get on with it and shall we? Enough of this messing about. You know what, Andy? Just before we get on to the boxing here, I broke my phone a couple of weeks ago and I bought myself a new phone. And I went into the old iTunes, Apple Podcasts, whatever you call it these days. And I thought to myself, I'm going to find a couple of boxing podcasts to listen to. I'm a big fan of the boxing podcasts, as you know. I think I've freshened things up a bit. Just type in boxing. And there on the main screen came 6 little tiles. You had the usual suspects, William Hill, Sky, all of that type of shit. And then right down the bottom of the 6 tiles, just punching above its weight like a little journeyman, Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast on the first page there, Andy, as always.
There you go. We've been breaking jaws and shagging maws. It's just we've been doing the business for the last, how long is it now? 10. It must be 10 years.
Since 2011, I think.
Yeah, we're doing it. Freelance. No financial backing, no big promotion stuff like that. Just doing the ear to the street, to the to the boxing game. Keeping it real, trying to keep the chat real and that as well. A bit of banter. That's what you want.
Absolutely.
No shills. There's no shills running about here.
No shills, no advertisements, no sponsorships as yet. Nobody wants to come near us, as you can imagine. Yeah, 9 years it's been going for. I haven't obviously been here from the beginning. I know Andy was, Dave the Hater back was there, Matty D. Leonardo as well, Tommy the Guru Allen, our glorious leader. But I think myself as a relative baby, Andy, but I actually came on board 2014 around Frampton Martinez. So I've been knocking around for 6 years or so. We've done well so far, coming up to episode 400. Anyway, let's move on, shall we? On to the action itself. BT Sports Card, first of all, Andy, with you. Liam Williams getting the first round knockout win over Andrew Robinson. On the undercard, I mean, Jesus Christ, Nathan Gorman coming in saying he was hungry. He shouldn't have been hungry with a belly like that. He must have been filling his face against Richard Lartey, who came in pretty heavy himself. Not impressed with Big Lartey. Didn't put in the same type of effort and endeavour as he did against Daniel Dubois. And Willie Hutchinson, how shit can his record get? They tried to move him up against Jose Miguel Fandino. Didn't quite work out. A bit of an early stoppage there. You can talk about any of that, Andy, if you wish. What about the main event? First of all, Liam Williams. I was going to say, he didn't really get out unscathed because he ended up with that cut, but I would have maybe preferred a few more rounds. We wanted to see him fight Demetrius Andrade. What did we learn about either guy, and did we learn anything at all?
Well, I learned from Liam Williams that when the mist comes down, he just goes to war, because I think he got really angry with himself in that, especially with the cut. I know it was an accidental clash of heads and stuff, and I think it affected Robinson more than it affected Williams, actually. He was kind of like dabbing at it, and then Williams just went straight to work and just kind of rammed him up with the left hooks of the body and the up top and that. There's not really much you can take from it, other than the fact is that Liam Williams is still, in my opinion, the most improved fighter probably in the UK, over the last few years at least. Anyway, I would absolutely. I mean, we were talking about it last night on Ben's podcast. And I think he's going to. I know he's been mandated apparently for the WBO to fight Andrade. And I'm not too sure we're going to get it next. He might have to wait a little bit. We're talking about the Yanabek for Kazakhstan. That might be a real test for Williams. Actually, I think it'd be a real test for both guys. Both banging, both in great condition, probably at the peak of their careers. Maybe we get a Liam Williams rematch, but that's maybe not possible with the promotional side and stuff. You kind of Islam in there as well, and Munguia, who's probably going to try and use the WBO mandatory status as well to try and get his shot, because obviously he had so many defences at 154, so he might try and call a defence as well. We'll wait and see, but there's not really much you can take from it, other than the fact is that Liam Williams is still looking very, very good. He's hungry, he wants his title shot, and I think the Andrade fight would be absolutely ideal for him. Third time asking, possibly as well. I don't think there would be a fourth, actually, considering how things are going to maybe work out at that weight and that. But if he gets the opportunity in that, I would. It's 50-50 for me. And if he wants it, if he's really, really wanting that, I think he could take it to Andrade and that, who we've seen him just stink out the joint, easily sit and box and stuff. I think if Williams is hungry this season, just kind of like hurts him, he might even get Andrade out of there. We'll wait and see. But I think at this point as well, is he's right in the mix now. So hopefully he gets his title fight next, and we'll wait for there and that. But it'll be interesting to see who actually hosts it as well, between Frank and Eddie, I suppose, and that, and where it's going to land, America or in the UK and that. But I dare say if it goes to America, we might get some fans in there. Depends where they hold it and that. I'm seeing some events in America getting fans back in, so we'll wait and see how that goes.
Yes, we will wait and see. A few more boys have joined the chat here. Ricky Gravel is knocking about there. Also, Rabsi Nesbitt. Somebody asked me for a shout out. It wasn't Glyn Problems. It might have been him, actually. Mr. Jones says Wellings needs to get Lupe Fuentes on. I don't know who he is. Who was it? Oh, yeah, Liam Wynn. Shout out to Liam Wynn over on Facebook. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe button, all that type of stuff. Hit the dislike button if you think we're shit, not a problem. Ozzy, nobody thinks you're shit. All waiting for your opinions on the Liam Williams, Andrew Robinson fight. Looks like he's getting the weight off. He's got a bit of spite in his punches, Williams. Obviously feeding him something, a bit of juice up there in the old north of England.
Yeah, I mean, the juice is good up here. All legit, of course. But it is what it is. I understand why the fight went ahead. Let's not forget, Andrew Robinson was Williams' mandatory. So the board ordered this fight. Williams is certainly wanting to keep active. So I didn't mind it. With the purse bids looming around the corner, why sit and wait? We criticise fighters far too often for sitting, waiting, rather than not. I'm not saying it's a risk, but all it takes is a bad cut or an injury, and it can rule you out for a matter of time. So I was more than happy for Williams to take this fight. And look, yeah, he did get a cut, but he dealt with Robinson in a way that he should be doing. Looked far too big, far too strong, was vicious. And poor Andrew Robinson just didn't know what to do. I think he was kind of not shook up, but maybe a bit phased by the cut. Williams literally saw blood and just went for it and did exactly that. Purse bids have been ordered now. There's going to be a negotiation period. I don't see the fight being made in negotiations, so it will go to purse bids. And look, with limited crowds happening in America, and DAZN haven't got the budgets they once had, I think there's a legit chance Queensberry could win this purse bid. I mean, why not? Williams is one of their hot properties, so why not do your best to bring Andrade over here? And if that means, look, he doesn't want to do that and he chucks the belt away, so be it. But Liam Williams' next fight will be for that WBO belt. He's bang up for it, and I think he's got the style and ability to cause Andrade problems as well. He can punch hard. He'll come forward. He can box as well. Look, he's a lot better than what just this big lump who's come up to 160 and can bang. He's a talented fighter. He's had the experience in obviously 2 close defeats against Liam Smith, but you've learned a lot from that, and that was 6 pound lighter as well. He's looked excellent, albeit against limited, somewhat like domestic level opposition.
Yeah, but look where their respective careers are now, the 2 Liams.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. I completely agree. Who would you rather be at the moment? Liam Smith made the move and decided to go over to Matchroom. Apart from a fight with Sam Eggington and a couple of others, he's nothing. He's not even being spoken about now. It was all, everything's criticised, with what Frank did to him. But fuck me, he got him the world title shot against that John Thompson. He then got in that Canelo fight, and then he got him another shot against that Jaime Munguia.
And he got dropped in that fight as well.
Yeah, and look, he's stuck by Liam Williams as well. And Williams has bounced back. And look, came in against Mark Efron, who we all thought, realistically, I tipped Efron to win.
Yeah, so did I. We said this last night, me and Andy, actually. And it's another thing we said, Ozzy, which you touched upon there, people are shitting on Williams, only like American fans on Twitter. He's a step up for Andrade, as far as I'm concerned.
Of course he is, yeah. I mean, I completely agree. Like, some of the, you've got to think, some of the mandatories we see in this day and age, it's like, fuck me, how's he got there? Liam Williams is a worthy, look, he's not at that, like proper eliminator type of thing, but well, he did against Atlantis Fox. But look at what Andrade did with Fox. He just laboured to, it wasn't. In fact, that Atlantis Fox dropped Andrade in the, I think it was in the 7th or 8th round. Williams absolutely destroyed him. So I agree. Look, it's a definite step up. Look at Andrade's last fight, Luke Keeler. I think we know what Liam Williams would do to Luke Keeler. He'd absolutely destroy him, and it wouldn't be going 9 rounds. Artur Akovov, again, I think Andrade defended the belt against him. Williams would destroy him as well. Walter Corton Dockwar, who he beat for the vacant title. We know we know what Williams would be doing there. So I agree, this is a step up, and it's a fight I want to see. And it'll be a real disappointment if Andrade chucks the belt away. He's come out with some comments saying, I'm not in the business of Liam Williams. I want the bigger fights. Andrade is not a big, he's still not a big name already. He chucks that belt away. What does he bring? Because DAZN ain't got that cash now. So why would he chuck it away? And if he thinks he can beat Williams, you take that mandatory.
Yeah, Ozzy, another thing I was going to say to you, actually, you mentioned about Andrew Robinson just briefly there about, do we sometimes underestimate just how quickly fighters have to make a decision? Like we look afterwards, we talk about it on a Sunday evening, post-fight pods, whatever, and when the dust has settled, but, Robinson has to suddenly make a split decision about what he's going to do. Is it the right decision? Is he going to carry on? Is he going to fight for it? Is it a bad cut? All these things are going on within a matter of seconds, to try and make that decision.
Yeah. And I think what it was as well is that he realised the cut. And I think he just couldn't react quick enough because Williams, if you watch the fight back and you see, Williams realised he's cut, you look at the reaction of Williams. He bores in and he just goes for it. And I just think Robinson was caught a bit cold. Look, the levels are there. And I reiterate, the board made this fight. It wasn't a voluntary defence. Robinson will come again. There's no shame in getting beat off Liam Williams, who is above British level, isn't he? He is the champion, but he's above British level. So there's nothing wrong with that. And yeah, look, we all know body shots. It's clearly took it out of him. I don't think he's ducked the fight and gave up. I think the combination of being caught cold and taking a big body shot, it was just too much for him. But he'll certainly come back. I think Williams will probably vacate the belt as soon as the fight is made for the WBO belt. So there's no reason why Andrew Robinson can't be in the frame later down the line. Maybe against Nathan Heaney, one of Frank's middleweights there. Maybe fighting, like the winner of, say, Mark Heffron, Denzel Bentley, which could well be for the British title. That's going to be announced next week, headlining a show in November. So it's one of them, yeah. I think sometimes we do maybe overreact and say he could have done this and he couldn't have done that. He's got 10 seconds. And like I say, a combination. Liam Williams was just a better fighter. And it was the first round. A lot went on. And Williams' experience and superior ability allowed him to do what he did.
Any quick rundown of the undercard? Anything that caught your eye, Ozzy, before we go back to Andy?
I agree, a bit pissed off with Richard Larty. I thought after seeing him against Dubois, he came in and he just threw bombs. And I thought, right. And after seeing Gorman on the scales, which was really disappointing, because I do think Gorman is a talented fighter and he's got skills. But what I applaud him for is he came out after the fight. And to be fair, he looked half decent. He displayed an excellent jab, which he's not really done before. But Gorman said during, after the Dubois fight and a combination of that and lockdown, he ballooned up to 25 stone. Now, that's a lot of weight for fucking anybody. So he's got down. Look, he must have shedded about 6 stone there. And he's probably got another 1.5 stone to go. That was an eliminator for the Commonwealth title. I'd like to see, and it was called out yesterday, I think a good yardstick would be someone against like Gorman against Lucas Brown. We can forget.
Can you imagine the combined weight?
Fucking hell, I know. Yeah, talk about so that'd be some serious weight.
Do you think it was because Larty, because Dubois went for Larty and sort of brought the beast out of him? It become like a bit of a slinging match, whereas Gorman lulled him to sleep by like boxing him. Yes, exactly that. And I think Larty tried to, make it a bit of a rough and tough shootout when, he was elbowing and he stuck a nut on Nathan Gorman. And fair play to Gorman, he didn't react at all. And he just stuck to what he knew and he nullified Larty and made him look what he is really, which is very substandard and, like Commonwealth level at best. Hutchins, that Fandino, he was shy. I mean, look, we said it last week. Sergio Martinez is knocking this guy out and he's got no knees and he's 45. Willie Hutchinson destroyed that and he needs step-ups now. And he needs good rounds. So I'd like to see him out again, maybe in December on that Dubois Joyce card against a decent step-up. There's enough domestic 168 somewhere you can get Hutchinson a good opponent. Mark Chamberlain, like him, good to watch. Very, very talented and can hit hard for lightweight. I like him. Very skilled and he's one to watch. And that Mohib Fazaldin got battered. And I think it was Carl Greaves who said it, I think Fazaldin's looked after by Tundi Ajayi and it's just another one.
Another one. Yeah, it's 2 lads now Tundi's had on these cards. Like when slots are limited now and they're crap. They're rubbish.
Is it the sparring? Because they look like they've never been hit properly before. We know Yard doesn't spar.
He had no idea what to do, did he?
It's System 9, mate. That's what it is. System 9 had another default, I think.
It's he just didn't know what to do, did he? Fazaldin, he got hit and he's thinking, fuck, what's this? I've been hit here. Like, it's not all this tippy-tappy pad work and stuff like that. And fair play to Luke Jones. He was brought in certainly as an opponent, and he took his opportunity. As for Fazaldin, I hope we don't see him on the screens for a very long time now, because he's got a lot to learn, and he shouldn't be taking precious slots on, prime time, like cards when you've got other fighters waiting in the wings who are more talented and just aren't linked with, like your managers that are in with promoters like Tundi Ajayi.
Okie doke, we will be going to Buatsi shortly. That was last Sunday, obviously, after we went off the airwaves. A little bit of showbox as well before we go on to the stuff next week. Andy, you were all over a bit of European action. Tell us, update us on what you were watching. I believe Bossel got knocked out by Robin Krasniqi, which probably would be a little bit of an upset of sorts. Peter Kadyrov was in action as well. And then over somewhere nice and hot, where was it? Dubai, Victor Kotochigov lost to Maxi Hughes. Fair play to Maxi winning on the road yet again.
Yeah, fair play to Maxi. It was a domination. I mean, I've got to say about that scorecard. Was it 95, 94, I think it was, to Maxi
The
Tszyu?
knockdown in it, yeah, just apart from the
Yeah,
draw. Yeah.
that was disgraceful. I thought, well, as I say, I've had issues with the wee man the last couple of days, so I only managed to catch the first 6 rounds. But what I did see afterwards, I thought Maxi was more than a worthy winner. I just thought that scorecard was pretty disgraceful. So that was a belt he picked up as well, a WBC trinket, or I don't know if it was a defence or something like that. But that's bound to get him into the top 10 now with the WBC, hopefully. So hopefully he gets a more opportunities off the back of that. Yeah, big knockouts last night. I watched it, obviously with the Gorman fight being on that. When I seen the state of him, I asked you guys that. When I seen his weight, I'm like, did he even train for that fight? And then I seen him in the ring, and I'm like, yeah, he's no trained for that. So I was flicking between the card in France, and I was watching the German card. You say I said last week, Bosel Krasniki would probably go the distance. How wrong was that? Actually, Krasniki just come out there and just laid waste to him and stuff. What a knockout it was! Absolutely obliterated him. He's picked up that interim WBA trinket and the IBO heavyweight title, light heavyweight titles. So Krasniki, that's his 56, 57 fight, I think it was. So he rolls on. He's on a big payday off the back of it. Peter Cadiro became German champion. He got extended 10 rounds against Roman Gorst. Pretty much dominated it, actually. A couple of rounds at Gorst maybe winning that. I thought maybe Cadiro hurt him a few times, and for some inexplicable reason, he fell into a clinch. I don't know if he just didn't kind of step back and let's see if the guy was going to hold himself or maybe just kind of like, yield or whatever. So I thought he kind of like maybe smother his own work a wee bit there. The 2 knockouts in France, actually, European middleweight title fight, really kind of vicious knockout, actually. Matteo Signani, is it Signano? Signani?
Signani, isn't it, I think?
Signani, 41-year-old, I think he was, iced Maxi Busseri in 2 rounds, 3 rounds. I think it was first or second round, actually, as well, where a left hook, and the Frenchman's basically landed on his elbow and dislocated his collarbone, and that was pretty brutal. And Nathan Augustine knocked out Tariq Derfoui, or Derfoufi, however you fucking pronounce it, in 2 rounds as well. Right hand kind of like clipped him kind of high in the head, temple shot. So yeah, Roman Frez, he's a cruiserweight for Germany. That might be worth keeping an eye on as well. And then it's Stanic. I think he's a Bosnian, kind of staying in, or an immigrant Bosnian in Germany now. Might be worth a wee kind of eye on as well. Kind of decent, competent, technical boxer and that as well. So yeah, so Maxi, good win. German cards and the French cards basically brought out 3 fantastic knockouts. And worthy any contender knockout of the year and that. So it might be worth a wee watch. They only go 3 rounds, 2 rounds here and stuff like that. So it's worth a wee watch back again if you're interested.
Yeah, absolutely. There were some massive knockouts during the week. I'll touch upon the Showbox ones a little bit later whenever Rapping Rob Kelly joins us. Just before we do so, shout out to some of our Patreon subscribers over on patreon.com/Boxing Asylum. Good lads that they are, including Daniel Adams, Jason Cheel, Ryan Deal, John Swan, Jasper, Owen Spillane, Nathan Newman, David Doyle, Gav, James Bernard, Danny Young, friend of the pod, hasn't been on for a while, Danny, hope he's keeping well, Ted Barrett as well, Joe Kennedy, who was hanging around in the chat earlier on, Martin, Swaggy Taggy, and Steve Turton, who has his own podcast. Go and check that out if you wish. If you want to show us a bit of love, throw a super chat in. No signs of Craggy Island just yet. There are signs of life, though, other than this card last week, Aussie, in the Marshall Arena, Milton Keynes. We managed to get up to Linus Adofia. We saw Aqib Fiaz. We saw John Hedges. We saw Alan the Savage Babbage going in against Niall Kennedy. Chantel Cameron, after we went off air, Aussie, fought against, I'm not sure what on earth this was, this Adriana dos Santos Araujo. She had enough trouble trying to keep her bra straps up with her lost property uniform on. I mean, this is absolutely shit, masquerading as a WBC title. No harm to Chantel. She's a good fighter, very, very skilled. But what she was being put in against somebody of this level, I honestly do not know. Also, main event, Joshua Buatsi. Again, looks a little bit small for light heavyweight. I thought Kalajdzic was having joy with the jab and the long-range punches against him. He got the job done, had a bit of a damaged eye. It was the type of fight Buatsi probably needed, Aussie, that sort of gut check after being out for so long. I think two pointers for me. First of all, he can't be out as long now. I want to see him back in at a decent level. And secondly, you have to say, if Kalajdzic is catching him like that, imagine a big beast like Artur Beterbiev catching him with those same shots. I don't think it would be too pretty.
I agree. I'll touch on the Cameron fight first, and I must say the opponent is an Olympic medalist, but I think that was a while back. But yeah, she was in no state. Fuck me, she came in like 8 pounds overweight. I mean, what is this?
Get your tits out for the boys.
I bet you were loving that, Andrew, weren't you?
Oh, mate,
The nip slips on a Sunday night.
Oh, mate, Artex the ceiling.
Yeah. So look, it is what it is. The one I said it when I jumped on Ben's little live thing earlier in the week. The one fight we want to see, Chantel Cameron against Katie Taylor. Will it happen? Who knows? But moving on to the main event, and I said it again. I felt Buatsi is small for light heavyweight. I genuinely, well, I say he can make 168. I don't know because you don't know what the weight situation is, but he certainly looks like he could make 168. The fight itself, I was critical before it. Look, I understand Kalajdzic had a decorated amateur career, but we've seen it before when they turn over late. Paddy Barnes being an example, they just not got it. But he asked questions of Buatsi, particularly early on, and it felt like when Buatsi was getting tagged, he didn't know what to do. You know, because he's been kind of like, he's had it all his own way. He was getting popped. And it's like, what the fuck's this? He certainly learned after, I think, 4 or 5 rounds, and he started to bust up Kalajdzic. But I think this was a harder fight than they expected, which is surprising when they've been talking about wanting to fight the likes of Sullivan Barrera, Joe Smith Jr., would take a fight with Beterbiev, would take a fight with Bivol. As you say, that fight, I don't think Buatsi would take shots off Anthony Yard the way he was getting tagged on Sunday off Kalajdzic. We know Yard can bang, and he's a big hitter. You're taking shots like that off somebody you can really punch. You get stopped, unless your chin is there. And we've all heard before the suspect. There's a bit of suspect around his chin. So it's going to be interesting to see the way they match him next. Eddie Hearn said in an interview they want Sullivan Barrera for December on the Joshua undercard. That's a huge step up. And if Barrera has got the bite and he's coming to win, that's a fight he can win. That is a fight he can win, Barrera, big time, off the back of what we saw from Buatsi. Don't get me wrong, the finish was very impressive. And I think Kalajdzic he might have come up with a broken jaw. But maybe is it time just to slow it down a little bit? I've been critical of the matchmaking before, and I like the Liam Conroy fight. Get him a win, get him that British title, but then have a couple of defences. There's enough quality around, like your Hosea Burtons, your Dex Spellmans. There's this obsession, with rushing them through to world titles, but why? I'm a big believer of using the traditional route. I've said it all the time. Area, English, Commonwealth, British, European. And those fighters that take that route are well-built, well-schooled, and usually go to world level. Warrington being a prime example. Carl Frampton operated around a similar level as well, taking the right matches. Josh Taylor, but differently, matched well, fighting the likes of Miguel Vasquez, people like that. It's an interesting situation with Buatsi. Has to remain active, has to. This guy cannot be fighting twice a year. He needs to be fighting 3-4 times a year. And you can get away with, lesser matches of sorts when he is active. When he's been out the ring for 12 months and then they're bringing him back against the likes of Kalajdzic, then he has another 6 to 8 months out and then it's another opponent. It's frustrating and people are just disinterested in him. And he's got all the tools to go all the way. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with him in December. I hope they can get him out there on that undercard. And I hope they can get him, keep him active because I like the guy. There's a lot to like about him. And he's certainly got a lot of talent as well.
Andy, I'm not necessarily saying this is the case with Buatsi, but I think regarding British Commonwealth, European route and all that, I think that a lot of them nowadays try to game the system. They think if they can get them through a certain level, get a few impressive wins, win an interim or one of these intercontinental type of belts, get them up and sort of cash them out at world level, they might sort of sink or swim or hit strike lucky. Whereas if they put them the proper route, they end up fighting proper people on a regular basis. There's a chance they could get 2 or 3 losses. I mean, we bring up the old school guys like see Clinton Woods. Look at Maxie Hughes. It goes to show if you build solid foundations, then fighters will get there in the end. But too many of them are trying to game the system and sort of jump over those hoops too quickly.
A path of least resistance, really. That's what it is. I mean, just on the rankings itself. I mean, Buatsi's now ranked 2 with WBA, and Aussie's mentioned like Sullivan Barrera there. I agree, but at the same time, you've got Barrera who's 38, fought 3 times in the last 2-3 years, and he's went 1 and 2 in those fights. Jesse Hart beat him widely on points, so is his heart still in the game? I just mentioned a fight there last night. Actually, maybe they might now target that fight between Kalajdzic. Bosel's about to fall down the rankings. Krasnicki's about to go number 1 in the division now, so that might be a fight that Eddie might look at as well to get made. But what I will say is this: I'm the same as Ozzy. I'm still a fan of the guy and stuff, but I can see now why there's been this hold up or holding him back and stuff, because he was static as fuck when Kalajdzic came right at him and started throwing punches. It's like, what the fuck's going on here? He just basically stood there, hands up, and just tried to kind of like parry or block shots that was coming at him with a high guard. I'm saying to myself, if that is like a killer like Beterbiev, or maybe like say a Pascal or Joe Smith Jr., maybe even Badou Jack and stuff like that, you are not going to stand there with your fucking hands up and just like parrying shots or trying to parry shots, not because these guys will basically. You can imagine Kovalev walking toward him and you're just standing there with your hands up and stuff. He needs to work on the defence. That said, he dug in. He had a bit of adversity. He was swelling up a wee bit and stuff. But when he let his hands go, he looks good. He really does look good. But I can see now why, as I says, they've been holding him back. He needs a lot of work. But as I agree with Ozzy in that as well, he needs to be more active. 27, 28-year-old now. He's no getting any younger. He's no probably going to get any better either unless he's going to be fighting more actively. But he's got himself high up in the rankings. So why take that risk? As you say, get a world title fight, get a X amount of million or 2 million quid in that, I don't know, and then retire in that. I mean, the guy's got his education to fall back on. He could use his degree for something. I don't know what for, mind you, but he could go ahead and do that. But Buatsi clearly still a work in progress, and I'm not hating the guy. I like him as a fighter and that, but defensively he needs to get that sorted, because says killers in that division will basically walk through him unless he can actually land a bingo shot, and that was a bit concerning for me, actually, just seeing him kind of like get tagged. And as I say, I wrote Kalajdzic off purely because these guys in their mid-30s now who've got a lengthy amateur career. I mean, we've seen it with Domenico Valentino the week previously when he turned pro late in life, like 33, 34.
Yeah, good point.
And he got iced off a journeyman, a club fighter, for a belt or a bauble. I think it might be the European title, actually. So I get kind of wary about these guys turning over, pro late, where they've got decent amateur experience, World Series of boxing experience and stuff, and you can see it pretty early doors and that. So I underestimated them, and that is my mistake. But I was actually surprised as to how quick he fell apart, actually, as well, considering how well he was doing. I would love to have seen it go the distance just to see how the cards would have kind of worked out.
He looked like the classic, I'll come over and have a go for 6 or 7 rounds, and he looked at the cornerman as if to say, right, this is it now, throw the towel in as we agreed. Yeah. It looked like that.
It looked like that. Maybe, I don't know if it was an injury, maybe the eye went, I'm not too sure. But he says that he folded or collapsed pretty quick, and I was a wee bit disappointed with that, because he did really well, just pushing Buatsi lap, marking him up, and just asking questions. And he says that we got answers to those questions last week, that he's still got to work on a few things. But he can't be doing that by getting held back, fighting trash like this. It's time now for a step up. And I says, if Sullivan Barrera or Robin Krasnicki's next, that would be a good yardstick. Krasnicki, veteran, pulled it out of the fire there last night. Barrera, I would maybe question that fight, because as I say, he's maybe his heart's not in it anymore. And he's late 30, 38, 39, Cuban as well. So you just don't know how he's going to turn up and fight. But now you take anybody for the top 10 in any of those ranking and bodies, that they're going to give Buatsi some problems at the minute and that. So back to the drawing board, but they need to step up the class a wee bit better now.
Just on a light heavyweight theme quickly, Andy, before we move on, I don't know what your thoughts are on this. I'm hearing on the old grapevine that Dimitri Bivol might be set to fight Gilberto Ramirez.
Oh my God, Prozac's just found a cure for depression, by the way. Jesus,
This is going to save the zone, this.
Oh, is that on the zone, that one, is it?
Well, I don't know. I'm only guessing.
Ramirez, he left Top Rank, am I right?
He left Top Rank, you see, and he's a free operator. He reckons he should have been getting paid more. Well, he's 40-0, isn't he? At the end of the day, all these great wins he's had against the likes of Max Bursak, and then you've got Bivol as well. So it seems to me a natural home would be DAZN for the two of them.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, get it on. I suppose it's two. I suppose it's two top names in the division. It maybe kind of clears the pathway a wee bit in that as well. But I'm not. That's not a fight I'm really interested in. I'm interested in, like, say, a Beterbiev, Bivol, as I says. The fact that you talk about Aussies mentioned Sullivan Barrera. I'm sure the Bivol not stopped Barrera as well.
Yes, he did in the 12th. That was an excellent performance from Bivol. He outboxed him, worn him down, and then stopped him in the last round, I think.
In the last round, I'm sure. Aye, that's right. It says that there is fights to be made. Joe Smith, for example, is waiting for the Salamov Vlasov winner and stuff. Any of those two fighters I wouldn't fancy putting Buatsi in me just now. I know Blake Capolero's ranked behind Buatsi in the WBA rankings. There was talk about that fight happening.
I was just going to say then that fight was made.
Yeah,
Buatsi Caballero was made, and then it's just disappeared. But that would be a perfect fight, for example, in December.
Yep.
You go for Buatsi, get him back out, bring Caballero over. Why not? You can talk around it, but it's a level that again may ask a few questions. He may come back and absolutely destroy Caballero, but that's fine. But that's a fight that where's he in the rankings? 4, 5 Caballero type of thing. Yep. So I wouldn't mind seeing that fight again, particularly like I said, if Buatsi then comes back out in December, fights him, and then gets a fight nailed down in February, something like that, you're starting to build momentum against the likes of that. But then you're becoming a lot, like I said, you're becoming active. You're not getting that ring rust, and you're beating solid competitors, which will only improve him.
I wonder if I might target the winners between Richards and Pitters for the British, maybe sometime in January. February time, as you mentioned those.
That'd be interesting. That the Pitters would be a decent. Pitters.
I like Pitters. I like him.
Yeah, Pitters would ask. Fuck me, what is he? 6'5". He'd ask some questions of Buatsi. He's got a chin as well, and he can clearly punch. That'd be an interesting contest. That really interesting. I'd love to see the yard. Well, I say yard fight. The winner of Lyndon Arthur against Anthony Yard against Buatsi. But I just feel like that it's going to be one of them. We'll let it get to a world. It's got to be for a world title, and it may never get there. But that'd be another good. There's a lot of domestic fights, which makes sense. I just don't know if they want to take that risk, Andy. As you said, being ranked 3 with the WBA now, why would they?
Anything else, Andy? Before we move on.
Nothing, mate. No, as I say, it's just we up in class. That's all we need. I think that's that fight would be ideal for him, considering the names we mentioned, that like Barrera, Krasniki. Outside that, I wouldn't fancy him against any of the top names. Buatsi, not at the minute anyway. Clearly, still a massive work in progress.
Absolutely. Fighting next week, Aussie. Sunday boxing is the new Saturday boxing, Sunday, October the 18th. As far as I know, this is still on anyway. Jay Harris is supposed to be defending his Commonwealth flyweight title against Marcel Braithwaite. Off the top of my head, I think we might have seen Braithwaite fighting against Sonny Edwards at some point. Yes. Michael McKinson as well. Oz 18-0 going in against 13-0 Martin Harkin. Paul Butler's on the sheet, but I think that fight against Ryan Walker might actually be off. You've also got Jordan Reynolds, former friend of the pod, making his debut. Yeah. Paul McCulloch, a hot prospect in Belfast, making his light heavyweight debut. And Jack Rafferty, who's got to 12-0 without me being even aware of his existence. Anything on this that excites you at all?
A fairly solid MCK card. Again, shame about Butler Walker falling through, but Paul Butler's better than the likes of Ryan Walker. I mean, what a career again. It's just fallen away, hasn't it? Left for pastors new, leaving Frank Warren after getting, world titles, and it's just kind of done nothing. Got an undeserved shot against, was it Rodriguez, and got bashed. Was it Rodriguez? And he got dropped heavily in the first. And then, Manuel Rodriguez a couple of years ago, and it's just done nothing since. McKinson's good, just likes a bit of power, but a decent welterweight. I'd like to see him fight Conor Benn. Jenkins, Echo Esserman, people like that. The main event, I'd really fancy Harris to beat Marcel Braithwaite. I think he'll do it in impressive fashion. I like Jay Harris. Do you know what I like about this as well? He's coming off the back of a world title defeat against, what's the Mexican called? Martinez, yeah. And look at the level he's come back down to. None of this, I'm above that. He's took a fight, he's took an opportunity against a solid Commonwealth opponent. Yeah, he may be levels above. He might stop Braithwaite. I don't think he will. I think he'll just win on points. But good on him for, be willing to drop back down to then start building back up. But the rest of the card, yeah, it is what it is. Rafferty's a talent, Steve. You should watch him. He's a talent. I like him.
Welterweight, yeah?
Yeah. Take a look at him. John Evans is very, very high on him. And he'll be able to give you some more details about him, his style and his qualities. But yeah, it was John who flagged him at first, and I'm very, very... He's one to watch, is the best way to say it.
I don't know if you touched on McKinson, but I was thinking to myself, Michael McKinson, he has sort of Belfast connections, even though he's from Portsmouth. Him against Lewis Crocker could be a decent fight,
Yeah. I think he's Crocker with MTK as well.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so look, they don't hesitate in matching their own guys, so why not? Let's see that. I think he's fairly highly ranked in the, in the rankings. British rankings, to say the least. But there's some decent 147 fights around, isn't there? Upon McKinson, Jenkins, Ben, Crocker, Esserman, Congo, Luther Clay, Liam Taylor, even Tyrone Nurse, is still, a solid domestic operator. So Darren Tetley as well, a former friend of the pod. So lots to like at that domestic 147 British division. So fingers crossed those fights get made next year. We can maybe talk about the situation, because I know the British board are resuming purse bids next week. So I've got a bit of info on the Ben Jenkins purse bid, which should be taking place next week, but we can talk about that after.
Andy, moving on to you, Ricky Gravel. As I mentioned earlier, my phone got broke, so I've got a few questions, Bellew of the Week, that got sent in on the old phone that I haven't got around to. Anyway, Ricky Gravel sent something in, Andy. I thought you might be interested in this. We're all wondering where Billy Joe Saunders had got to. If you remember, he was supposed to fight Martin Murray many times back in the day. The fight kept falling on through. Ricky Gravel said Hearn is on about getting Martin Murray as an opponent again for Billy Joe Saunders in November. I'd literally rather watch my mother get fucked by a pack of wild boars than sit through that, says Ricky Gravel. What do you think about that statement?
It must hate his mother. Yeah, I mean, I take the point. Martin Murray, I mean, when was the last time he fought actually just out of interest? I mean, did you have an 8-rounder? Was it
I
last
thought
year?
he'd retired, to be honest.
Yeah, so did I. I mean, sure. Look, Saunders, I don't even know what division Saunders is ranked in these days, to be honest with you. Nor do I care, because, in the day, he's swapping trainers more times than, my dad used to go wife swap and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, what is it? I mean, it's a rush shaker, it's all it is, but surely Christ, they can do something better than that. If Eddie's want to put a fight on that's going to, maybe, I don't know, I know he's got a few pay-per-view cards and that kind of lined up, but surely Smith against Saunders is going to be the fight to get made. Surely, Christ. I mean, what is Smith doing these days? We never hear high in their telly him. Saunders he's more kind of prone to kind of making outbursts and comments and that about lockdowns and stuff about all that type of stuff and that. But is it about money? Is he no fighting unless he says, look, listen, I know he pulled out of fights not because he was saying he was isolating because he's elderly grandparents and stuff like that. Look, that's fair enough. But we're kind of past the worst date, I'll be kind of saying that. But as I say, you've got to get fighting now, surely. Look, you've got a belt as such. Get in the ring, fight somebody. I mean, what's wrong with, like, say, maybe, you're with Eddie. Why not make a fight with Danny Jacobs, for example? I know he's got something lined up, actually, unfortunately. But Zach Parker, Lemieux had a fight there last night. He won that. Get a rematch with him if you want. Something, just fight. Just anybody, to be honest with you. But, surely you're going to fight something better than Martin Murray, surely.
You've missed the big name, Andy, and that's John Ryder. So I spoke with John, and he told me that he basically had a meeting with Eduardo and said that he would take the same money as Martin Murray and Rocky Fielding, who were two opponents, to fight Billy Joe Saunders, and Saunders wanted nothing to do with it. He said he basically wants to fight the likes of either Martin Murray or Rocky Fielding, which just sums him up in my opinion. Ryder would be an excellent fight for Saunders, and I think it's a fight that, well, basically, it's a fight he could get beat in because, again, what has he done? He has ballooned up. And he's just an irrelevant fighter. It's so frustrating because he's got bags of ability again. It's just annoying. It's just so annoying with him that, again, he met a merry-go-round of trainers. He's now with Mark Tibbs. But basically going back to where he started, because he started with Jimmy Tibbs and Mark involved. I always felt Ingle was a great fit for him. That didn't work. That's clearly not worked. He went back to Ben Davidson. That's not worked, so he's now back with Mark Tibbs. But the fact
maybe the problem's with Saunders, do you think?
Oh, it is, yeah, big time, yeah. The problem is with Saunders, and I just don't think he cares, to be honest. I just don't think he cares. It says it all that Ryder was willing to take. Ryder was willing to take basically lower cash from what, like Murray and Fielding were going to take. For Ryder, who's, name is fairly, well known at the moment. He said, I'll take lower dough to get that opportunity. And Saunders wants nothing to do with it. So what can you what can you do? What can you do? It's just so annoying. And again, fuck me, what does it do for you? Gets announced next week. Yeah, Billy Joe Saunders against Martin Murray. Fuck me. Wow.
Yeah,
I think as well. I mean, John's no fought since November, since the Callum Smith fight and stuff.
Was that November?
November, aye.
Yeah. And he's chomping at the bit to get out. He wants opportunities. Keeps getting told all sorts of names, but nothing's been produced for him. And he's soon to become the forgotten man, isn't he?
Who needs him, basically? Who wants him?
Exactly. Yeah, because he presents too tough an opportunity.
High risk, low reward. Because we all said it as well. Since his move up to 168 and that, he's like Liam Williams at 160 and that, absolutely rejuvenated. We all said that. The Saunders, who's just basically like molasses at 168, really want to be handling that because if you remember back to the British title fight between the two of them, and that it was a close run affair. It was tight in the cards.
It was.
Okay,
yeah,
Andy, let's move.
It was.
Sorry, Ozzy, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was saying you were saying about Ryder Saunders on the cards. Is that what you said, Andy? Yeah, but
the first fight, mate,
I always said that Ryder gave Billy Joe one of his toughest fights. It was close on the cards, that. And again, I think Ryder, look, is in the form of his life. Billy Joe's ballooned up, training to make weight rather than, like training to box. And it just takes it out of you too much. It really does.
Andy, we shall go back to Friday evening. Quick one from you here in the bubble. MGM Grand, Emmanuel Navarrete going for the vacant WBO World Featherweight title against Rubin Villa. I thought Villa might do big things last week. He got dropped in the first round by a looping lead left uppercut. In between the patches of Navarrete hitting him hard and often, Villa actually boxed pretty well. I mean, he was quite sharp, nifty little southpaw, good head movement. He just kept on getting caught at the wrong times, and Navarrete, I thought, was a worthy winner. Shout out as well to Janibek Alim Kanuli on the undercard. He's up to the top 5 of the WBO already, which isn't saying much sometimes, but he got a knockout win. He's 8-0, another one of these Uzbek, Kazakh type of guys to look out for. But as for Navarrete, he's going to be a handful for anybody because of his size and activity, I think.
Yeah, he's just got that way of fighting. Actually, I mean, I think one of the knockouts was a kind of really unorthodox uppercut as such, or a kind of left hook that dropped Villa for the first knock, not either first or second knockdown. I think it was. He is going to be a tough fight for anybody in that, but it's just a shame for Villa actually because it says he was getting marked up badly, he was getting caught and stuff just because of the the long reach of Navarrete and that. But he did have good pockets of success. Good jab. If he just stuck to the 1-2 and moved out of distance, that he might have got his tagged as much and stuff. But he made a good fight actually. Just a pity he's just not got that punching power. Navarrete, as I say, is a long dude for the weight. And I mean, how he made 122, it's incredible. But it will just be interesting to see what he does now actually, because considering that his reign at 122 wasn't exactly tremendous and stuff. I would imagine it's going to be the same along the lines this one as well when he picks up his belt and that. I mean, he's got Magdaleno, Ryan Walsh, Mariaga still kicking about that division as well, and so's Kid Galahad and that. So the pickings aren't exactly great for him to look good in. But he done the job anyway. I thought he struggled at times, especially with the jab and that. But in the end, he got the job done. I thought he won it. I think some people said that it was apart from the knockdowns and that, it was pretty much Villa's fight. Look, Villa made a good fight. Yeah, I just thought Navarrete just better. The punching power, shall I say?
Heavier shots, wasn't it? I thought.
Heavier shots. And the two knockdowns really for me just made it a kind of like 116, I think it was 116, 110. I think I had it for Navarrete. I think it was.
That's fair enough, actually. Yeah, if Veer could punch, he'd be a lot more dangerous proposition down at the weights. You are listening to episode 394, Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. Andy Patterson is here, so is Ozzy Smith, waiting for rapping Rob Kelly. Coming up to Lomachenko Lopez shortly. Shame none of the Yanks have jumped on with us on a big preview, or anybody else. In fact, these are the big weekends that we look forward to having the boys on with us. Let's throw a shout out to some of the Patreon subscribers. I'll just put this up on the screen for you to have a look through, Andy, regarding Tszyu. It came in from Connor Brennan, just while I call out the Patreon lads. Shout out to Graham Taylor, Jeff Conway, George Barry, Craig Jevons, Don McNamara, John Kearns, Nathan Shaw, Joe Ringer, James Addy, Ant, Marco Barrera, Marty G, James Monaghan's Economics, Emmett O'Keefe, Thomas Byrne, and our new member this week, Mr. JS Ledbetter, has joined us as well. Welcome to you, Mr. Ledbetter. Yeah, Connor, I think he's based down under, Andy. He's keeping an eye on Tszyu anyway. He said he's at it again now on the sports shows. He believes he's been calling out. He's unimpressed with the likes of Charlo. They were talking about getting Teixeira over to Australia, but obviously Teixeira, I believe, is fighting Brian Castano next. Perilous stuff from our guy. My other question still rings true, though. Word has it he's going to fight Zarafa next in a tick-over. Well, I've heard different, Andy. Apparently, Tszyu is going to be putting in against a guy from New Zealand. I think he's like 21-1, called Bowen Morgan. He's like an IBO champion or something. So, I mean, he's that young, Tszyu. He doesn't need to be rushed. So if they're going to make a big sort of Australia-New Zealand battle, maybe put him in against a Zarafa, get that experience. Now's the time to do it. Is there a major rush with Tszyu?
No, at this point. I mean, as I say, what I knew about it, I thought he was. I heard the Zarafa word as well, that he was a potential opponent for him in that as well. And at the time when he beat Jeff Hearn and stuff, the WBO was still to decide whether Castano and Teixeira was going to happen, because I think Oscar was talking about potential. They wanted to try and do it with fans. And then when they found out that the Aussies were having fans back in the stadium and that, they were happy for Teixeira to go over there and defend against Tszyu. And then the WBO stepped in and says, no, look, you must fight Castano. So that fight's been mandated, it must go ahead. So at the end of the day, look, Tszyu's, what is he now, 15, 16 and all? I don't know, 25, 26-year-old. Again, just a wee bit like Buatsi, a wee bit kind of learning still to be done in that. But look, everything looks good about him. Good jab. He was very patient against Jeff Hearn, for example. Picked his shots well. It could have really turned into an absolute ugly fight against Jeff Hearn. Just how he fights. But I thought Tszyu unpicked the lock pretty well and beat him down and stuff. So it was a really impressive performance in that regard. Look, light middleweight, as I say, you've got a clear champion at the weight at this point, and that is Charlo. There is some good names and stuff. Look, as you say, look, there's no rush for him to kind of like get these fights and stuff. At this point, does he beat Charlo? Probably no. Not at this point. But I would put him in like kind of Jack Kulkai. I think that would be a really good test for him. Kulkai coming off that Barrow.
Good shout.
You know, win. He had to kind of really dig in for that one. We mentioned Liam Smith, for example, as well. Who else you got? I mean, we'll forget Brook. I know Brook's at 154 and that, but he's absolutely washed. I don't even want to hear that name anymore. Kurbanov, I don't know if that's undefeated. I know there's two Kurbanovs out of Russia, and I don't know if that's undefeated one. Fundora, the big massive fucking town, Inferno, 6'10", 154 fighter, and that. I think Tszyu could have his way with him. I think there's a lot of body for him to target there. James Metcalf, Ted Cheeseman.
Metcalf was supposed to fight last night, wasn't he? And then the opponents all kept pulling out.
Yeah, I believe so.
No, they didn't just pull out. The two of the camp members tested positive for coronavirus.
Oh, sorry, that's what I meant. Apologies, yeah.
Yeah, so fucking killer in it. It was probably fighting and height that as well.
Kakachi's supposed to be on as well.
Well, yeah, we know about Kakachi, don't we?
I know, but going back a few weeks, it wasn't such a bad card.
Yes, I know. Yeah. These things happen, though, don't they?
One final name I maybe throw out there for Tszyu would probably be Carlos Adams. He went to distance with Teixeira.
He has a fight. Is it him or is it Subriel Matias? I'm maybe getting them mixed up. I think one of them two has a fight coming up soon, actually, I think.
Right. So as I say, there's no rush in that, but at the end of the day, I think, look, I think for Tszyu to get himself out of Australia and that, he's probably earning big money or decent money in Australia. So I don't think we're going to see him abroad until there's a world title on the line, which would probably be a Charlo fight at some point. But there are some names, no names as such, but there's some decent opposition he could fight at 154 and that. Look, the regional stuff, I get it because we say it with the British cards and that. Look, but it's going to be easier to make an all domestic fight at the minute. And it reduces the risk of a fighter having to come in, quarantine for 2 weeks and stuff, and running the risk of him getting, popping positive unless it's a big show and they've got money coming in. And, for example, Povetkin, White, example, But yeah, there's no rush, absolutely no rush for him. But I think at some point we'll see him step up to world level, maybe in the next year, I would think.
Oh, there we are. Nathan says Matthias is fighting Malik Hawkins. That's right, yeah. I knew one of them was not Adama's then, so maybe he could be still in the running. Ozzy, I have a question coming for you from Rio Tonko. It actually touches upon, here it is on the screen, it touches upon stuff we were talking about there, so you can jump in or not as you see fit. He says, do you reckon Eddie Hearn has screwed over Smith and Billy Joe Saunders by giving White their pay-per-view date for his rematch? Hearn guaranteed they would fight each other if neither got the Canelo fight, and if one did, the other would fight Jacobs or Andrade. I think Jacobs is maybe fighting Andrade, Rosado with a view to fighting Andrade or something. Anyway, Rio Tonka goes on. He's given 2 pay-per-view dates to White after he got knocked out, which he should have given to Billy Joe Saunders and Smith. They should both be fuming with him. He's rewarding and prioritising White after getting KO'd and leaving the other 2 in the shitter.
Callum Smith won't fight Billy Joe Saunders this year because he wants money, wants cash. And the cash isn't there because of all the cuts. Saunders, what I will give him credit for is he's gone on the, what's it called? He's willing to fight on free-to-air, which is not a pay-per-view star anyway, but he's on free-to-air, but he's getting out there. Smith can't give a fuck. But yeah, I think it has scuppered plans. Let's have it right. Dillian White was expected to be Alexander Povetkin, and White wouldn't have boxed again this year. They have to get that rematch activated straight away in any hope that the WBC will award White his number 1 spot back in his mandatory. I don't see that happening anyway. But yeah, I think there is a lot of frustration behind the scenes, but certain boxers are to blame when, look, purses are clearly coming down due to all the circumstances. And if you're not willing to take a pay cut, you're not going to fight, have you? You're not going to fight. It's as simple as that.
I seen a comment yesterday about the Wilder Fury third fight potentially expiring. Oh,
Yeah.
But the Wilder then came out and says, no, we're still wanting the fight. But I don't know if it's true or not that the clause expired and that because of injuries and stuff. But hopefully that is the case, because we need to free up some some fighters here.
I think that's going to happen. Well, I think they've come out and basically said that this clause existed. Needs to happen by, December? And I think just solely because they can't get the gate there, it needs to be full capacity. So unless they go to Miami, where they've been told that the Dolphins can have full capacity at their stadium, which is 65,000. They're only going to have 13. Unless they go somewhere where they can get the full gate. But Vegas is the one that draws in the cash. And the Raiders are only just allowed to start bringing fans in now. It's not going to happen. So, yeah, I'm kind of glad in a way. I'm kind of glad because, look, no one wants to see the third fight. And if this means that if Fury will fight in December and Joshua wins against Pulev, there should be absolutely nothing stopping Anthony Joshua against Tyson Fury in the first quarter of 2021. There's no mandatories. There's no, no rematch clauses, nothing. And everything should be geared to making that fight. So if that means Wilder's fucked up, and this clause is in there and it's expired, then I'm happy because it means that we get one step closer to seeing the fight I think everybody wants to see.
Yes, everybody's looking forward to that one. If and when it happens, we're getting one step closer to the Lomachenko Lopez preview as well. Rapping Rob Kelly's on the call. Coming to you shortly, Rob. I don't think Rob can hear us at the moment. He's maybe having some technical difficulties out there in the wilds. maybe try and jump off, Rob, and jump back on again if you can't hear me, which obviously you wouldn't have just heard that either. Andy, just while we're trying to get hold of Rob from the space station there, during the week, I know you didn't see this, but I have a couple of points to make to you about the Showbox card. First of all, some banging first-round knockouts. Brandon Lee moving to 20-0, very, very young guy, against Jimmy Williams. These were the kind of rewiring jobs, as you mentioned. There were some heads flying into orbit, some real heavy knockouts. Janilson Figueroa Bocachica, that's some name, isn't it? 16-0 now after knocking out Nikolaus Flaz in the first round as well. Again, an absolute banging knockout of that one. In the main event, though, Charles Conway, 12-0, going in against Wendy Toussaint, 12-0. Interesting thing for me, Andy, about Toussaint that I was looking at, he was really frustrating watching him. I know we're sort of armchair spastics and we're seeing things, and I was thinking, why isn't Toussaint using his height and reach and getting on the jab and letting the shots go? And the commentary team was saying this. The corner was saying this to him, but he just, apart from 30 seconds here and there, he wasn't able to execute the game plan whatsoever. He wasn't able to let his shots go, even that was clearly the right strategy for him. And they said he was a regular sparring partner for Sergei Derevchenko and Joe Smith Jr., even though this guy's a welterweight. So he's obviously tough. But the point is, Andy, is that there's such a thing as a sparring partner mentality. Toussaint looked to me like a sparring partner, like he was too content to coast. Like he wasn't doing the things that he was supposed to do because he was there to give better fighters work. What do you think about that whole sparring partner mentality? Andy, I've floored you with that long introduction.
Sorry, mate, I was talking away. I was on mute there. So you get these fighters like who look absolutely tremendous in the gym and that, and you hear the stories coming out. Oh, you see this guy sparring by the way, big future and stuff. And then it happens. We go under the lights and bang, he just frees up and stuff. Maybe he's just that mentality. Really, just not got that mentality kind of step over the line and stuff and really kind of push it. But as I said, I've never seen the fight. But I know you were saying during the week that it was like there was 4 fights all ended in knockouts and stuff. But again, as I said, I just think it's just all about just doing the mentality. And we were talking about Hopkins Pascal last week there, and we'll come on there against Lomachenko and Lopez and stuff like that. But boxing purely is 90% mental. And if you look at the mentality to be a fighter and that, and you're just happy to be a sparring. Look at Kevin Johnson. For example, I hate to bring him up sometimes, safety pin. But when he decides to go and have a go, he can put it all together, but there's too many times he just wants to sit on the ropes and just parry up, cover up and stuff, and just take shots, get a payday, move on to the next one. But it was just unfortunate.
Another thing I was going to say, and it's a bit of a moot point, really. Not a mute point, a bit of a moot point, really, because of the way Conwell finished the fight. But for so long, I'll come back to you, Andy, because Rob hasn't jumped on with us. But for so long, Conwell was going through the motions a little bit, not really doing the things again that his corner was asking him to do. And I thought, obviously, we've got to cut Conwell some slack. He was an excellent amateur. But of course, he almost a year ago to the day, I think it was 3 days before, it was the 9th of October, it was on the 12th of October, 2019, he fought against Patrick Day. Infamously, obviously, Day fell into a coma 4 days later and died. So Conwell has obviously got that on his conscience. I wonder whether that's the tentative approach, the fact he was backing up and not able to do the things until the brutal nose-busting knockout, maybe was playing on his mind. And it's not for me to say, Andy, but Conwell on his shorts had written or stitched and embroidered, and apparently this is going to be the same going forward now, Pat Day all day. Yeah. Is it maybe detrimental to him to have that stitched on? It's like a constant reminder, like a shadow over every performance. I mean, it's up to him at the end of the day, but could that be playing into his mindset?
Obviously, I mean, it has to be to a degree. I mean, I don't think he'll go through many days in his life where he doesn't think about what happened. I remember he wrote a letter to Patrick Day when he was in the hospital and stuff, obviously the family and that. But yeah, I mean, but at the end of the day, I mean, I can't really comment on such because I ain't been in a situation like I've never killed a guy fighting and stuff. But you just wonder, that mentality and that. Maybe seen it with Eubank in the past. He pull his shots and stuff. I would say I've not checked out the stoppage and stuff, but Conwell's only, what is he? He's only early 20s and that as well. So again, it might just be that he's a bit sensitive to the situation and stuff, and okay, he's maybe taking instructions for his corner. You need to do this, you need to do that. But at the end of the day, he's probably no one to go in there and absolutely hurt someone, and that's why maybe wants to drop it to the body rather than go to headshots and stuff like that. I don't know. I don't know how his approach was in that fight. Maybe you could tell me how how he fought and stuff as such, but it's got to play in his mind to say he's maybe just want to take it easy as such. But in this game, he can't take it easy because I hate to say it, but what happened to Patrick Day could easily happen to Cornwell if he takes it too easy. So it's just hopefully that mentally at least he can put that to one side and continue his career, no problems, and he can get through it. Look, again, I understand. Like, he's probably kind of contacting the family and that as well. It's clearly had an emotional effect on him if he's writing letters about the situation to the family when the guy's fighting for his life in the hospital at that time and stuff. So yeah, we'll wait and see how it goes.
Absolutely. Good luck to Cornwall going forward. Definitely a talent. If he can get through those mental demons, he'll be a hell of a fighter. A couple of notes for next week. Not going to dwell on these at all. I'm going to come to Ozzy on Lewis Ritson shortly as we try and get Rapping Rob Kelly back on the call as quickly as we can. Evgen Koitrov going in against Vaughan Alexander, Devon Alexander's brother, next Friday evening on the 16th of October. That's on CBS Sports Network. Also, Brian Norman Jr., been keeping an eye on him. He might turn out to be the next Duke Micah, another one of my L predictions to do well. Brian Norman Jr., son of the esteemed Brian Norman Sr., 17-0, going in against Juan Rodriguez. That is on nowhere, Florida State Athletic Boxing Commission. As far as I'm aware, nobody's televising that. Saturday the 17th, East of England Arena in Peterborough. Naturally, Eddie Hearn, Aussie, is putting on Lewis Ritson against Miguel Vasquez. Savannah Marshall going in against Hannah Rankin. Kaiz Ashfaq against Mark Leach. Thomas Patrick Ward, 29-0. Thomas Patrick Ward, he's really talented. I don't know why they put him in against this 11-2-1 Jose Martin Estrada Garcia. I mean, maybe they're just trying to keep him tick over. I suppose Ellie Scottney making a debut. Ryan Lawsey, some character. And Cash Farouk. Any picks out of that card, Oz?
Fucking Vasquez. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, Andy took the words out of my mouth. It's a weird one for Ritson, isn't it? It's the name, isn't it, I guess, but what weight does Vasquez carry now? I mean, fuck me. I'm saying, look, he was jobbed against O'Hara Davis wrongly, but then got beat out in, I think he boxed, did he box out in Canada or something like that? So, and he lost there. Look, he's past his best, to say the least. Certainly think he can ask, to be fair, I think he can ask questions of Ritson. We've seen that Ritson, he's not this unstoppable machine, and Patera made, bust him up, to be honest. But just don't think Vasquez has got all of that. But could make him, I certainly think he'll win rounds. This is the issue with women's boxing. Hannah Rankin has lost 4 fights. Nothing wrong with that, but every time she steps up, she gets beat. And is now chucked in to fight for a vacant world title. Savannah Marshall, previously on this card earlier in the year, was going to fight at light heavyweight to get a world title opportunity. So now she's down at middleweight. So it's another world title, but how legit is it? Kaiz Ashfaq, Mark Leach is probably the best fight on the card. This will be a good dust-up. Leach has been clamouring for a huge fight and, like a big opportunity, and he's got it. Ward, bags of talent, highly ranked in the world rankings, but again, 29-0, but he's not really boxed, a lot of quality. And he's built a record, but like this guy, this Jose Martin Estrada Garcia, 11-2-1. Where the fuck are they plucking him from? Is it like a favour to Vasquez or something like that? That Joe Laws is just, is that a bit of a cartoon character, and he keeps calling out Devin Haney. Fucking Devin Haney will obliterate him, so we definitely don't want to see that. Scottney against Connolly, know nothing about that. And Cash Farouk, just disappointing.
I was going to ask, any opponent for him yet, mate? Have you heard anything for him?
Nothing. Fuck me, Cash Farouk as well. I like him, mate. Fucking bags of talent. New signing. You're going into fight week, and he's not got an opponent. Fuck me, why not? Why have we not got him an opponent?
It's a joke.
As a joke, I was asking Ben, I mean, what bantamweights has Eddie got? Because at the end of the day, if he thinks he's going to drag Cash up to super bantamweight, he's on to plums. Cash is a legit, fully fledged bantamweight, and that's where he belongs and where he should be fighting for the rest of his career, unless he gets naturally growth. I mean, he's only 23, 24, I think.
What about that Ryan Walker? Wasn't he supposed to fight Butler? Maybe he would have been in camp, wouldn't he?
Yeah, but I thought it was Walker who pulled out the Butler fight.
Oh, right, maybe it was, I don't know.
Could be, but this is what I mean, though. Fuck me. You're telling me you can't find somebody who, like... And it's not as difficult now, to find opportunity, to get fighters into the country, to get a bantamweight or something like that, and you're not getting an opponent. Fucking hell! Like, Farouk's a talented fighter, really talented fighter. There's certainly enough fighters available that they could have. Mark Leach has gone up to super bantamweight to fight Kalajdzic. Why not chuck Mark Leach in with Cash Farouk? Why not? That makes complete sense.
Who's Mark Leach fought before? I recognise that name.
He was the English champion at bantamweight. Steve Wood managed. I couldn't tell you who he's last boxed. Solid operator. Went out to Zimbabwe, I think, and got jobbed on the cards. It was horrendous. Managed to catch him out.
He fought Tapiwa Tembo in the International Convention Centre.
Yeah. So it's one of them. So yeah, but it's just. I hope this isn't the start of Cash Farouk where he signs with a promoter and then just gets messed around and is chucked in with trash, because he's a lot better than that. And fuck me, he beat Lee McGregor and was just jobbed on the cards.
Anything from you, Andy, before we go on to the big Loma jobby?
I'll just force what Ozzy says and stuff. Vasquez has seen better days. He'll ask questions of some sort of Ritson and that, but in the day, Vasquez is a lightweight. I don't know what he must be in his late 30s now. Cash Ashfaq, I'll have a wee look at him as well, and obviously my man Cash Farouk. I agree with what everything Ozzy just said there. I was asking Ben if he'd heard anything as well about a potential opponent for him, and he's heard nothing. So it's a disappointment, because that Cash has come up the proper way. He came up the Scottish area champion, British champion, defended it. He outrighted defended it and became champion and stuff. Did it off the big shows. Managed to get some coverage on the small hall BBC Scotland shows and stuff like that, on, like, say, for example, at the Radisson Blue, which would have been the St Andrews Sporting Club dinner shows and stuff like that, done by Tommy Gilmore's sons and stuff. So that type of thing. So he was getting exposure in that. And then when the Lee McGregor fight got made, that was the most called upon fight in Scotland at that point and stuff. And to get it made, I was so surprised in that as well. And then also as well to get it put on, I think it was actually even on. I think it might have been on Channel 5 actually. I can't remember off the top of my head and that, but it was great to get that fight made. And it's just unfortunate now that Cash is signed with Eddie. I think I honestly believe he'd have been better off signing with Frank, and people will fucking laugh at that. I know they will, but Eddie seems to sign these fighters, and unless they actually are names who draw in big numbers of money and stuff like that, he doesn't really do much with them.
Unless they're pay-per-view, women, or YouTubers.
Yeah, exactly. Or heavyweights, who can maybe challenge Joshua in China, for example.
We need a transgender YouTuber on pay-per-view next, just to complete the holy trinity.
You fucking sign the Kardashians just for the banter, A cat fight out in the front of their mansion, for example. No, but hopefully Cash gets, he'll get a rush shaker, I suppose, but hopefully he then gets another chance for fighting for the British. Obviously, the Lee McGregor fight would be obviously the one you want to see next. It was very close. I thought Cash won it. But Lee is having to use a dietitian to try and make weight these days for 118 and stuff. I think he's going to stay. I think he's got a shot at the European next. I think it may be right in saying that. But hopefully he can maybe kind of stay at the weight as well. But I want to see a rematch at some point. But Lee's going to have to go up to super bantamweight very, very soon, I think.
Any confirmation on Ozzy before we move on, or should we move on to Loma?
I think he's right. I think McGregor has got that. Is it that? Is it against that Guerfi, Karim Guerfi? Yeah,
good.
Yeah, it has. Yeah, next month, about a month away. So yeah, good fight that.
Absolutely. Talking of good fights, Vasily Lomachenko going in against Teofimo Lopez, not on pay-per-view, as Bob Aram says. Not going to give Bob too much of a pat on the back. Same with Frank, with Dubois against Joyce. If they could get away with pay-per-view, then they surely would do. When Rob Kelly first jumped on the call, he couldn't hear me, so he reconnected, then he couldn't hear Andy. So he reconnected, then he couldn't hear Ozzy. What stage are we at the moment, Rob?
I'm in bliss. I can't hear anyone. No, I'm only joking.
I can hear you.
Can you hear the wife?
Hello.
Hello. Relax, you're a week early. No,
How are you, Rob? How are you?
Good, good. I think it's a bug on Safari on iOS, so I think I've worked it out what to do if that happens in future. So we should be okay going forward. Yeah, I was really hyped. What are we getting to Loma Lopez now? No, I've missed everything for the weekend anyway. So
We're going straight on to Loma Lopez, Rob. I'm going to say to you, biggest fight of the year since Fury versus Wilder 2. And I'm going to give credit to Lopez. I don't think he's going to win, but I'm going to give him credit for pushing for this fight.
Yeah, I think he deserves massive credit. What's he had? 15, 16 fights, something like that. Not a seasoned pro by any stretch, but he's full of confidence. He believes in his own ability, and so far he's been right. I'd say, looking down his record, there's a couple of tough opponents in it. Nothing that would certainly scare Lomachenko by any stretch, but it's the manner of the way he's been winning the fights. Especially the ones by knockout. Now, I know the Japanese kid took him the distance, so I don't think that would bode well for him. I've been saying for a while, I've got a sneaky feeling for Teofimo Lopez in this fight. I don't know why, I don't know what it is, but I still don't see him doing it. So I think it's either going to be emphatic upset where
Hello?
We've lost you, Kelpera.
Don't tell me you're gone. Can you hear me?
You're back now.
Hello?
You cut off for 20 seconds.
We've got you back. Rob's battling the elements here. He's on the end of a stiff jab. Go on, Rob, give it another go. I seem to have lost him. Can you still hear me, Andy?
Hello?
Bad lad. Well, let's come to you then, shall we? Battle of the Fathers was the next note I had. Anatoly, quiet-spoken man, Ukrainian, against Teofimo Lopez's father. I think he's Teofimo Senior. Couldn't be any polar opposite, really. He's brash. He writes checks, doesn't he, for his son that he has to go in and cash.
So you talked to me there, mate, sorry.
I'm talking to you, Andy, sorry.
Sorry, yeah, I'm at the end of the day, look, I'm really looking forward to this fight because we'll get to the dads in a minute. I think Lopez Senior has done a lot of talking, and Papachenko always just he sits there quietly and stuff, never says much. I see they've got a documentary out now in Prime about him, so it might be worth a wee watch. Actually, maybe kind of sit and watch it. But yeah, I mean, look, Lopez has done really well talking up this fight. He's got everybody buzzing about it. At the end of the day, I'm seeing people out there wagering big money, thinking Lopez is going to turn the business and stuff like that. So he's really got the buzz going. Loma, he's been quiet as such. Now, at the end of the day, he said himself, "I'll let Lopez do the talk and stuff like that, and build up the pay-per-view and all that type of stuff and that." But it is definitely possibly the best matchup of the year. Lopez is claiming he's a great boxer, so he claims anyway. But I think he needs to go back and kind of like think about what happened against Nakatani, for example. Whereas it probably called into question his mentality because maybe mentally weakest to a point because he didn't look good against Nakatani. He was struggling with the kind of long, tall guy, and he basically said after the fight that he was going to retire, and then he's not wanting to fight tall fighters, for example. He's got problems with the family after getting married and stuff. He didn't want to come home. He's crying and all that sort of stuff. So that to me suggests. Again, I go back to what I just said there. Boxing is 90% mental, and I think Lomachenko is so mentally strong, so mentally tough and stuff. I'm not saying he's invincible, obviously. In that, I mean, anybody can go one punch. Anybody can go. We know this, and Lopez obviously has got that punching chance and stuff. But I just think his best chance to win this fight, because what I see is, I'll pick out his flaws first. Anyway, I think Lopez carries the left hand too low, a bit like Floyd does, but Floyd can get away with it because he's so technically gifted and stuff. But then Lopez tries the shoulder roll as well as a kind of defensive measure, and then kind of tries to come back with the right hand. I don't think that's going to work with Lomachenko. I've not seen Lopez fight many southpaws and stuff. Lopez Senior's thinking all Lomachenko's going to do is move to the right. I did pick up on that. I think Loma would go to the right because of the low left hand. He could maybe ping in a right hook and kind of come in with a straight left hand and stuff, and then dance around about him. I do think Lopez is a bit stiff as such. I don't think he doesn't really work angles. He kind of comes forward in straight lines. He backs up in straight lines as well. I don't think his jab's too good. It's okay. He kind of throws it for the body and such. But I just think he needs to be kind of getting the hands up. I think he'll need to keep the hands up actually. It'll be interesting to see how he adopts to fight. I don't think he's going to try and outbox him. If he does, then I think he's have to try and think with Lomachenko. I don't think he really wants to be doing that. I think Loma's just technically on a different level. Totally. I just think Lopez's best chance might be to kind of like rough him up, step in there and try and use his natural strength. How much that's going to do him good, I don't know, because I know for a fact Lomachenko, I don't know if anybody's seen the Top Rank Blood, Sweat and Tears episode that came out there a couple of days ago.
No.
Well, if you look at the scene on Lomachenko, actually, he's actually training with Dmitry Mitrofanov, who's a very, very accomplished amateur, strong, rugged, technically good middleweight. So if Lomachenko, who's a supposed so-called featherweight, is actually sparring and doing Greco-Roman wrestling with a middleweight and training and stuff like that, I think that just tells you where he's at and stuff. I just think Loma technically is superior, but obviously again you got to kind of wonder about the right hand. If Lopez elects to box, does he nullify his own advantages? He seems to be hungry. He's vocally called for the fight even before the Edis Tatley fight. He was coming for the Lomachenko fight. Well, he'll probably way heavier in the ring than Lomachenko on the night. He's certainly thicker, muscular-wise and stuff like that. He's got the power. Well, power to a degree. I mean, obviously, we've seen him ice opponents and stuff, but if you look at the Richard Comey fight, people say, oh, he iced him, he knocked him out. No, he didn't. He knocked him down badly, and Comey got up off his feet. So I think that's something to kind of reference as well. People go back to, like, say, for example, Lomachenko getting dropped off Linares and stuff, but look,
he is susceptible to the right hand, isn't he? He said that himself on the Steve Kim podcast.
He can be. So obviously he needs to watch out for it. It was the right hand that dropped Comey actually pretty badly. I just think he's got to work on his jab more. He's got to, didn't go back in straight lines, Lopez. But again, I go back to the fact is, I think there's a bit of mental fragility about Lopez. I don't want to fight tall guys. I want to retire and stuff. So, to me, I think if Loma can work the business on him and stuff, I could see maybe a mercy stoppage stuff like that. But I'm thinking Lomachenko on points. I do think he'll have his moments where he's going to have a wee bit of struggle and might have to kind of grapple and work angles stuff up. We've seen Lomachenko when he's in the clinch, he kind of like pulls himself free and he's back onto working that. I just want to see how Lomachenko's going to manoeuvre around about Lopez and stuff, and how he's going to nullify that right hand. And he'll need to watch out for the Lopez left hook as well, the lead left hook. So we'll wait and see how that kind of transpires and stuff. So so as I say, Lopez shoulder roll, don't get the kind of poverty, kind of Floyd, kind of shoulder roll that he's got and stuff. The weight, I'll be interested to see how Lopez makes the weight and stuff as well. So we'll wait and see how that goes. But I just think distance fight all over it. Can Lopez outthink Loma? Maybe no. Is he mentally stronger than Loma? Maybe no. Is he powerful than Loma? Yeah, I think so. It's intriguing, definitely intriguing, because I say one punch and he could go. We know Loma's fighting up at past his natural weight anyway. But he's seeking challenges, he's seeking tests, and people need to remember as well that Loma actually called out Lopez when he became world champion after going up against Comey. Another thing as well is what I did notice from the Edis Tatley fight was Tatley, who's got a good jab, actually marked up Lopez, was actually catching him. So outside of the belt, really, for Lomachenko, there's very little for him to gain outside of the belt here, because if he loses, he got beat off a 15-0, 23-year-old kid. If he wins, Lopez is too young, he's too inexperienced, and all that sort of shit. So I can just hear the excuses that's going to get made, like what happened with the Rigondo fight. So, end of the day, people are jamming for this fight. So, but I didn't want to hear any change in the narrative after this fight. If Lomachenko schools him and absolutely embarrasses him, I think Lopez would probably quit the sport, because he's talked so much shit. And his dad, who, by the way, he's just a cheerleader. Can I just say that? Because he says, Teofimo can do a million different things. Well, okay, I've watched a fair bit of his fights and footage and stuff like that. I've never seen him change it up or vary it up a wee bit. So I like to see what this million different things that he can do. I haven't seen him fully tested. I haven't seen him kind of like, banged up. I haven't kind of like really get proper tested and stuff. So this could be a baptism proper baptism here, actually, and one that he may never recover from. But I'll tell you what, if he pulls it off next week, I'll be the first person on this podcast next week to sing his praises and say that we've got a new star in the sport, because I didn't want to hear anybody say either that Lomachenko's old or washed and all that sort of stuff if he gets knocked out.
It'd be a legitimate win.
Yeah, it's a legit win against one of the greatest fighters of this generation, one of the greatest amateurs of all time. So if Lopez wins, give him his credit. If similarly as well, if Loma wins, give him his credit as well, because this kid has talked it up. He's got all the jive behind him. He's got all the momentum and stuff. And the other thing as well is, I just going back to the mentality side of things and that as well, is I think when you seen after the Comey fight, Bob Arms in the ring after the fight, and he's telling him, "Do not fuck this up." I didn't know the context of that, but I think there's just something in the background. I'm not too sure about that, but if you look at the family situation, listen to what I've heard now about his mentality, he deals with anxiety and stuff like that. Well, I tell you, if he look, you're a boxer, right? And I know we're in an age now where we've got to discuss, especially in the kind of male sphere, about our mental health and all that sort of stuff. But you're a boxer. You do not show any weakness. And if you start saying that, listen, I'm struggling with anxiety and stuff like that, Lomachenko's rubbing his hands at that, says, right, okay, mentally I can get at him. I know I can break him down now. If he's mentally weak in any way, shape or form, Lomachenko will find a way to make him quit if he can just start kind of working him over on that. But outside of that, maybe a late stoppage is touched, but I think the safe bet for me, I'm going to say Lomachenko in points. I'll go something like 116, 112. I'll be absolutely shocked if it's a shutout, because I think Loma will give Lopez his respect because he's power and that. But you never know, he might go in there, look at him, say like, you ain't got shit, man, and just kind of work him over and that. So we'll wait and see. There's a few things that might work here and that, but I just think Lomachenko, just his mentality, his training's on a different level. His dad leaves nothing to chance, and as I say, he's sparring middleweights at the minute. So Lomachenko, UD for me.
UD for Andy. We'll get a pick off all the boys. Throw your predictions in the chat if you wish. Yeah, he's got things going for him, old Lopez. He's 10 years younger, taller, bigger man. If he lands that right hand like Linares did, then you never really know. But if Lopez can't hurt him, it's unlikely he's going to outbox him, let's be honest. And Lomachenko has that huge advantage in experience. Aussie John Wayne said there, I think Teofimo Lopez has that special quality of being able to raise his game. I can see this being the start of something special. And this actually leads into something I mentioned last week, Oz. I liken this to sort of Canelo-Floyd situation. I wonder whether Lomachenko sees the potential, the talent, the future star power of Lopez, similar to the way Mayweather did, beat Canelo at that sort of stage in his career, and everything Canelo's done afterwards has helped to enhance not only Canelo's career, but also Floyd's as well. In that case, the pressure is definitely on Lomachenko here, and unless Lopez takes a career-ending beating, he's onto a winner in most respects.
Agree, and I like that analogy, but I wouldn't say the pressure's just on Lomachenko. As Andy said, Lopez has taught the talk, so he's got to impress, really. I mean, it's not going to look good, as he, like we've seen it before, fighters come out, say this and say that, and then they get iced, and they become a shadow of their former self. I actually think, look, when we know Lomachenko can be caught, and I think it was when he was dropped off Linares, but wasn't really hurt. And Linares is no slouch; he can bang. Certainly think, look, Lopez is certainly the bigger guy. Do we see him outboxing him? Not at all. So I think Lopez has essentially got to try and take it to him, vary it up, do something he's probably not done before. Because if you try and box ultimately the master, I just don't see it happening. I don't see him being able to do that for 12 rounds. Lomachenko's had all sorts of styles, abilities, qualities in there in that short pro career of sorts. So he's kind of been there, seen it, done it. Lopez is arguably coming off a career best performance and win when he knocked out Richard Comey. And it's not something I thought he would have done, particularly in that sort of fashion. But that saying, I think Lomachenko will have too much for him. I just think he's too schooled. And Lopez is maybe just a bit raw at the moment. 2 years down the line, it could be a completely different fight. But I think you've summed it up perfectly, Steve. A bit like the Mayweather-Canelo situation, that Lomachenko can clearly see Lopez's qualities, and he's thinking now, well, I take it now. and I back myself to go and win with my skills, experience. 2 years time, I'm 2 years older. I've got more miles on the clock against a hungry fighter coming up, and he's always improving. It might well be a hell of a lot different. So yeah, I see Lomachenko. I think he'll stop him, and I think he'll stop him between 8 and 10 rounds. And I think it'll be the precision of punching, and I think he'll break down Lopez. I think
like
Lopez,
a Nicholas Walters thing. Do you think Lopez, after about 6 rounds, when he suddenly the realization of what it's like to fight Lomachenko, and he can't do anything, and he's struggling to have success, and all of a sudden he's like,
exactly that.
It's been a lot more difficult in these last 15 fights than this.
Yeah, and I was going to say that I think he'll have, he might have, occasional success, but I think Lomachenko will be quick to adjust, and he'll start to nullify everything he does. And I think it'll be a combination of, like a mental breakdown, like everything he tries and it's not working. And look, we always say that it's not just, like the physical aspect, but a mental aspect as well. That can be draining on you as well. Because imagine you get to the halfway point and you think, I have tried fucking everything here and it's not working. Like, what the fuck do I do? And I think it'll be a combination of physically, mentally, as well as Lomachenko's, like boxing IQ and his precision. And I think he'll just wear Lopez down. And again, look, if I get it wrong, fair fucks to the guy, because it will be a huge, huge win. But we've always said a loss does not define a career. Lopez is young enough, to if he suffers a defeat, he can more than come back and still go on to achieve huge, huge things. But for me, to finish, I think Lomachenko will just have too much, and I think it'll be another impressive win, and I think he'll do it in fine fashion.
Just before I bring you back in, Andy, Rob, I want to go to you, actually. Just following on the Lomachenko-Canelo sort of dynamic. You've got Lomachenko here taking a pay cut, looking to unify, fighting a young up-and-comer. You've got Canelo fighting in the courts rather than the ring, trying to get a guaranteed $35 million. Are we on Team Lomachenko here rather than the prima donna?
Oh, definitely. I think Lomachenko's shown since he came in the sport that he's willing to find anyone or to fight anyone. I think he's been detracted from unfairly because of some of the matchmaking. People say, he got Walters off a long layoff. Rigondo was coming up weight classes to fight him and stuff, but none of that's his fault. Like, he's he fights Orlando Salido in his second pro fight, going for a title, and got a baptism of fire that night, and adjusted midway through that fight, and since that fight he hasn't looked bad and knocked down to Linares. Linares is the only one that's given him a close fight. Let's be honest, in his 15 pro fights, he's only had two close fights, Toledo and Linares, so that's not a bad out. Just in terms of this fight, I didn't get to actually talk about it. I think it dropped off, but Andy, I was pointing to the Japanese kid as well. I think that doesn't bode too well for him if you're looking to beat Lomachenko, but I have a sneaky feeling for Lopez in this fight. I don't know why. Sometimes I just get these notions, but I just thought everything about him wanting to make this Lomachenko fight is, as much as his dad, Angel Garcia 2.0, the kid himself seems to be wanting to take challenges. I mean, he could have easily, obviously the ESPN fight is easy to make the boat with Aaron, but he could be calling out Haney, he could be calling out Tank Davis, that are two easier fights for him. But he's wanting to go for Lomachenko. He sees, you have to take into consideration Lomachenko's hundreds of amateur fights and his pro fights. So he's had a short pro career, but he's had 4 or 5 different amateur careers over and over, you know what I mean, on 2 Olympic gold medal runs. So there is going to be wear and tear on Lomachenko, and he is going to slow down eventually. I don't think he's going to hang around to the kind of same age as Manny Pacquiao and plus be around in his late 30s. I'm sure he could if he wanted to be, but I don't think he'll operate for too much longer. I think we're kind of seeing him hit his peak. I think we've seen Lomachenko hit his peak already, and while he's still head and shoulders above everybody else, while he's in slight regression, I think there has been some signs. Now you got to reach for them because he's almost perfect, but I think there's been some signs of regression for him, especially at lightweight. Lopez big at the weight, massive puncher, and as well as that, I think you have to factor into the equation now Joey Gamachi's inputs because he's been with him since the Kami fight, hasn't he? So I don't think he was with him in the when he had the Japanese card, but he's been there as assistant trainer to the Da. Now we saw Otto Wallin do a lot better than expected against Tyson Fury and actually be in that fight, which none of us thought he would be after seeing him since he started training with Buatsi. So he knows his stuff, good trainer, learned under Manny, very knowledgeable fella, and they're supremely confident. So I think it's going to go one of two ways. I think Lopez is actually going to just go out and Father Time's going to be against Lomachenko and he just gets blasted out, or Lomachenko puts on the thorough clinic and wins by UD. I don't think he's going to stop him, although he probably could. So intriguing. I don't know. Like I can't call this fight for sure. I have a sneaky feeling that Lopez is going to do something more than a lot of people think. But if you put a gun to my head, I'd say Lomachenko UD. But yeah, intriguing fight. Definitely the best fight of the year since Fury Wilder 2, and just the fight we need. You know, we need this. Like we need big stars to kind of come and test Lomachenko. We need definitive fights for him. You know, we need somebody to give him some adversity in fights as well to show his true greatness. So it's a brilliant opportunity for both of them. I get the no win thing for Loma, but as well as that, like if he goes out and dominates this guy on next Saturday, you're going to have to start giving him his flowers while he's around to smell him, like, because he is one of the greatest. Like, get out of the neighbour's garden, the dog will stop barking. Oh, chill out. Watch out, Bill Burr. Chill out there with your zingers.
I love Bill Burr.
Oh, we're going to relax there, pal, with the one-liners. Oh, good hell. We'll do that, man, right? But, no, it's a brilliant fight, man. I cannot wait for this fight. It was so hyped, and like I said, you know, you get Zepeda, Baranchik to pique your interest again when things are going shit. But apart from Povetkin White, lockdown boxing has been shite. Oh, one of the other things I wanted to make reference to that I think could be an important factor, especially for Lopez, no crowd. So you don't have the under the light the last couple of weeks when things are behind closed doors, when there's no pressure from the crowd whatsoever. You know, that's a factor in any sport at the top level, doing it under the lights. And if you just have to go in and fight Lomachenko behind closed doors, would you prefer, if you were the underdog fighting Lomachenko, would you prefer to fight him in a packed Barclays Centre or Madison Square Garden, or would you like to fight him behind closed doors? Like, so I think that could be a factor too. We're all, I don't know if it could be a factor, but it's all very interesting and makes it very intriguing.
Yeah, Andy, I mentioned before about Fury Wilder 2, best fight since then. You got the Charlo pay-per-view, obviously. You had Leo Santa Cruz against Gervonta Davis coming up, White Povetkin 2, Garcia Campbell. For such a bad year, it looks like it is picking up a little bit, and we are going to have some decent fights. Obviously, Baranchik against Zepeda as well came the other week. So the year's looking a little bit better, Andy. I think you wanted to talk about Lopez's attitude, though.
No, well, it's not so much attitude. I mean, well, maybe a wee bit, yeah. I mean, he's moaning here, for example. You know, he says hate's a strong word. I'm not going to hate it in my heart, but he says I hate Lomachenko, how he kind of conducts himself and carries himself when he speaks to people. If anybody remembers my comments on the podcast maybe a couple of years ago when I met Loma in Germany, I told you guys there's an element of arrogance comes off Lomachenko. Look, I get it. Look, Lomachenko is like 400 odd fucking amateur fights. He is pound for pound one of the best fighters in the world just now and stuff like that. Look, I get it. You know, if I was that guy, look, it would be so hard to keep your fucking ego in check. That's when you need your real mates to say, listen, just rein it in a wee bit. But end of the day, look, when I met Loma, I asked him for a picture, right? And I didn't really do it much with fighters and stuff like that. I asked for a picture, and he did. He just kind of nodded his head over and nodded his head like to say, like, come over here, right? And he gave me the picture, no problem at all. And I said to myself, yeah, look, I get it, a wee bit arrogance. And when Lopez said that, look, it rung straight home to me. But at the end of the day, look, you're really going to hate on a guy because his ego. Remind me again, what did Lopez do when he's knocking out fighters like he's digging holes for him and stuff like that, you know, and jumping about like a maniac and doing acrobatics in the ring and stuff like that. So it wouldn't be like Lopez not to kind of like be arrogant if he was to win a fight against someone like that, for example. So just thought I want to bring that up. For a reason to hate a guy for being arrogant, look at yourself in the mirror, mate. Just look at yourself in the mirror.
That's like the people that hate Michael Jordan because he was a bit arrogant. You know what I mean?
I know, the greatest of all time, you know.
Greatest fucking guy to ever do. Of course, he's going to be arrogant when he's fucking looking at fellas with inferior skills. Like he's looking at him with disdain. Like, but yeah, I always got that from Lomachenko too. It's a pity, I think, that his English is not as great. I think I said that before. I think he could be a bigger star if people could actually read his true personality. I do think he has a massive degree of arrogance about him, which is obviously as well totally deserved. Like some of the things the guy does in the ring, we've never seen before. So yeah, I can completely understand that he's arrogant, but I think it'd be a better selling point for him as a kind of a fucking pantomime villain if he could actually communicate that a little bit better.
Okie doke, I know everybody's made their predictions, but we'll go back again through the panel so everyone can shit on us next week and say that they got it right and we got it wrong. I'm just looking through the chat here, see if anybody's made any predictions. I don't know what the hell they're talking about, but there's not too much Loma chat going on here.
Anybody picking Lopez at all? Anybody in the chat picking Lopez?
Somebody did, Andy. Somebody said Lopez knockout within 6. I can't find it now.
I tell you what, mate, I was in boxing scene form today. I've not been in a form for years, but I went on it today just to kind of have a look at because I was prepping for this and that. The amount of people who are absolutely putting money on Lopez, who are convinced he's going to win this and stuff like that and win it well, it's actually quite scary. And that. So this is what's really, as I say, it's hyped the fight a bit. You know, Lopez, he's done his bit actually. He's carried the promotion. As Rob says, Lomachenko's English isn't great. It's getting better than that, but Lopez has carried this promotion. He's talked all the shit. So once you talk the talk, it's now time to walk the walk. And yeah, it could be a heavy, arduous, rough and weary road for Lopez. He's going to walk actually if he doesn't get this right.
So you're going for unanimous decision, Andy. You think Lopez might win about 3 or 4 rounds as much as?
I think Lopez will be in the fight. Again, it depends what kind of mood Loma's in, and you know, if Loma comes out to make a statement, I could definitely see a stoppage. I could see a quit as well. But I'm going to take the safe option. Say Loma's going to win it wide on points. People need to remember as well. People shit on the triangle threes and that about Linares getting brought into the conversation that as well. People need to remember Lomachenko actually done his shoulder in that fight, I believe, and still fucking stopped Linares in that fight. So people need to stop with these triangle theories and using Linares as some sort of kind of like say, oh, he wasn't an elite fighter and stuff. People need to kind of like weigh it up with the facts now. Loma actually had to go for surgery after that fight. He's had problems with his hands and that as well. And he's fighting way above his best weight, yet he's still schooling these guys and going into these fights. And people mention Luke Campbell, for example, and that. But that might be due to the fact is it's not a challenge as such. But this fight, I think with the shit that Lopez has spoken, I think Loma might pick up his game a wee bit more. Just to kind of like, you know, put the young pretender in his place and say, look, I am Lomachenko, you will fucking yield to me. And I think that might be a wee element that to it and that. But I'm saying Lomachenko wide on points, possibly a quit. But again, as I say, I don't want anybody
Lopez
saying
quitting.
Lopez quitting.
I don't think Lopez is going to quit, man. I honestly don't.
We'll wait and see. There's just something that I'm seeing in him, that the way he's talking and that. I don't know. I study people and that as well. It's part of my job and that. I don't know what it is. There's just something there. Sorry, but I just.
You should study that panel, Andy. That'll keep you going for a few weeks.
I didn't want to, mate. Listen, I didn't want to. But you know what I mean, though.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's fine. That's Andy. Yeah, I'm going for Lomachenko as well. But my predictions aren't worth a carrot. Everybody knows that. I think Lopez is going to push him all the way. I think Lomachenko will have that extra added bit of class and he'll win maybe 116, 112, maybe even as close as a 115, 113. I think Lopez isn't going to be that easily discouraged. I think as I said to Ozzy, the reality of Lomachenko is going to be a lot different from what he thinks, and he's going to get picked off at times. I think he's going to keep pitching. He might even knock him down at a point. I don't think Lopez is going to quit. I think he'll keep going for the knockout. He'll believe in his power, Ozzy, right till the very last bell, and keep pushing Lomachenko, and he's going to give him one hell of a fight, I think. But Lomachenko ultimately to come out on points. What do you think?
I actually think Lomachenko will break Lopez down, and as we said before, Steve, I think the realization will hit Lopez at the midway point, and everything he's tried has just had like no real effect, to no avail. And I think it'd be more mentally tiring rather than physically tiring, and the precision. He's no slouch with his power as well, Lomachenko. I think he'll break him down and he'll get the stoppage between 8 and 10 rounds.
Oh, Jason Chukwu, just in time. I can talk now, says Jason. That's a good revelation. Breaking news, Rob. Jason Chukwu can talk. We're only interested in what you've got to say. What's your prediction, Rob?
Yeah, I'm to and fro, man. I don't like Lomachenko should beat Teofimo Lopez every day of the week, realistically on paper. Too much experience, too much ability, can dig nasty to the body, can show that he can adjust in a fight and can overcome adversity in a fight. All stuff that we haven't seen from Lopez thus far. But I don't know. I just have a sneaky feeling that this is going to be the night where Loma gets old and there's a new lion in town. So I can't give a definitive pick, but I mean, just for the sake of argument here, I'm gonna go with Lopez.
Rapping Rob Kelly, 3-1. Then in Lomachenko's favour, Rob is putting himself out there. Good lad. Let's move on then, shall we? Anything else before we go on to Bellew of the Weeks? Anything anybody wants to mention that I might have missed, I might have forgotten about? You know what I'm like?
No, well, just a quick mention. Great to see the New Year cards getting mixed up for Japan. So Kazuto Ioka is going to face Kosi Tanaka. It's looking eyed up for New Year's Eve. So just for the staunch, hardcore boxing fans who love the Japanese stuff in New Year, that fight's potentially getting made. And Chocolatito is saying that the Estrada rematch is between 80 and 90% complete. I'm getting hard at that news. I'm getting hard.
I was laughing at that earlier. I saw his tweet. He was like, nobody else into this like me, fucking casuals. I just wondered, Steve, I know you've covered it already. I just wondered, does anyone think that this AJ Fury fight could now end up being without two of the belts, possibly without the WBO and without the WBC? Because the fact that they've come out, the Fury side have come out and said this fight is off, and Shelley Finkel is still saying, I think up until this evening, that the fight is on and they're trying to make it for December, has indicated to me that I think there's a bit of skullduggery at play here. Fury, the master of the mind games, the master of the public spin, I think they might not want this third fight. Like I don't want to say don't want it is too strong, but I think that they don't see the benefit in this third fight, and it's a massive risk. There's no reward and a massive risk, and the risk is that this big money fight gets blown away. Same with Pulev fighting Joshua. I mean, assuming that fight's going ahead, but they're saying that the WBO might mandate Usyk as the mandatory. So I just have a feeling that Fury, that this Wilder fight is the contract that is not expired, and that they're still trying to make it, and they might have to forego the WBC just to make Fury Joshua.
Any thoughts, Andy? Going to drop the belts, you think?
Yeah, in the day, who's I listened to during the week there and stuff? I forget who it was at the minute, but yeah, they should just fuck off the belts, save some money, because everybody knows who the top two heavyweights are, in the world. It's Fury against Joshua. There's no belts required, so just dump the belt or belts. Save yourself some commissioning fees. Fuck them off. Who wants to see Suleiman and Mendoza get their fucking face in the fucking picture anyway? Get them to vacate the belts.
The hairy man.
Right, because end of the day, the winner is the man, and let the rest of them pick up the belts and let them fight the man in the division. That's just the way it's going to be, in my opinion. Because end of the day, I think I can see the WBO getting vacated anyway, because Usyk's going to want his shot shortly.
Yeah, no, I definitely think they've made their intent clear now by saying this Wilder fight is off, and whether it is or it isn't, it's going to be off now. It's going to be Fury Joshua next, but I just have a feeling that Wilder will end up still being WBC champion or fighting for the vacant WBC or something, or not still being, but fighting for the vacant WBC on his comeback. I think that one's going to get ditched.
Too many belts, says Alan. Too many belts indeed. Let us move on to Bellew of the Week for episode 394. Ozzy's still with us, so is rapping Rob Kelly and Andy Patterson. Might be pointless reading out some of these, but let's get stuck into them anyway, shall we? First one nominated by BoxRec, Matchroom Boxing, for announcing the world title triple header. Katie Taylor against Miriam Gutierrez, Terry Harper against Kathy Sanders, and Ebony Bridges against Rachel Ball. Bellew of the Week for that one. Hamad has nominated David at Camden Dave for saying world-class performance by Joshua Buatsi against Kalajdzic. Bring on Baturbiev. Here's one coming in from Marcus Bellinger on BoxingScene.com. Eubank Jr. Canelo fight has to happen, Andy. So many fans are calling for it. Are you calling for it?
I have never seen one person call for this fight, by the way. He fucking lost his pen anyway last time he was going to sign for the Golovkin fight, so... No, I mean, I heard them on the BBC actually with Bunsen Costello during the week there and stuff. It was a really good interview and that. But he said I think that's where that quotes came from, actually, from that interview, that this fight's going to happen. Karabov.
I saw one person calling for it. It was Chris Eubank Senior.
Yeah, there we go. The delusional one, or the Ninja Turtle. Chris Eubank Senior. I was listening. Eubank was saying as well. Listen, he's looking for fights at 160 or 168, But he was saying as well, as he's been training with Roy Jones, he's actually losing weight because of the heat and stuff like that. He's like, I'm weighing like 164 pounds just now, so he's not clearly a super middleweight. He's a middleweight fighter. Maybe even could make 154 if he wanted to.
Probably having to carry Roy around on his back. Maybe he can carry Roy on his back when he boxes Tyson. You know the way Roy can't get around the ring as well these days.
I wonder if Roy's actually going to use him teach him how to use his jab properly in that as well. Because he's actually got him, moving and to rap music and stuff like that, and jabbing to rap music and all that sort of stuff and that. So I don't know how that works for Roy, but Roy's Roy at the end of the day.
He's making him fight chickens out in the backyard and everything as well. Get the mentality right.
I remember talking to Bryn actually, about Roy's house suit in Pensacola, and that is. He says it's massive. He says it's got lakes. He goes and gets fish. He grabbed this animal and he threw it into the water for his fish to come and eat it and stuff like that. All type of thing in that. So it's a mad. He said Chris Eubank was saying he was in the ring sparring this day and he heard this fucking cockerel. He turned round and the fucking cockerel's walking about the gym as he's fucking sparring at the same time. Can you imagine it? Cockerel's running about the fucking gym. He's just sparring.
Oh, amazing. Cockerel did better than JJ McDonough.
The cockerel. Love the cockfight, did Roy. Marcus Bellinger has nominated Floyd. Floyd's getting a bit optimistic about this Gervonta Davis-Leo Santa Cruz fight. Hopefully we can get 1 million, even 2 million buys on pay-per-view for Santa Cruz against Davis, says Floyd. Clearly spelling and counting are not his two strong points.
Holy shit, 2 million buys for Santa Cruz. Holy fuck.
That reminds me of the day when fucking Santa Cruz demanded 4 million to fight Rigondo. Fucking hell.
Oh, man. I know I've said it before, but Santa Cruz is a nice guy, Andy, but he's one of the most boring guys I've ever interviewed in my life. I mean, like I said, he's a real nice fella, real genial, pleasant way about him, but you ask him a question and every answer was, well, I'm training so hard for this fight and I'm going to work hard with my team and, oh my God, come on, man, give me something, Leo.
I love the accent.
His best ever interview was on PBC on Fox when they had him, Abner Mares, and someone else, and they were asking them all, do they fight for legacy or money? They went around to the boys and they were all like, legacy. Legacy means so much to me. And they went to Santa Cruz and he was like, I fight for the money. Kind of shrugged his shoulders. Brilliant.
Good old Leo. Wouldn't be the same either, Andy, without a Demetrius Andrade nomination here. It's me again. # let's make it happen at Future of Boxing. # VADA, says Demetrius Andrade. Chris Mannix is getting on board. New jabs on DAZN. Should Wilder have fired Breland? Can we get Charlo against Andrade? What's next for Buatsi? Not going to dwell on that one. Can't give Mannix too much airtime.
He was blaming Charlo again there during the weekend after that. I mean, what a shill. Paid journalism. Move on. And move on to the WBC. Nominated, I can't remember who nominated this. Apologies to you. I think it might have been Danny Robson, actually. It was Danny Robson.
Happy birthday, Hitman Hatton.
Yeah.
And then they've superimposed the WBC title over his waist, even though he never actually won one. That's Mauricio getting stuck in on that one again. Shannon Courtney. Things are about to get very exciting, says Shannon. John Joseph McCormick says, you're sending me nudes. From British Boxing Blog. There for that character. Eggy Phil has nominated McLovin. A lot of crimes from McLovin there. I'm going to have to move on. Too many to mention. Andy, this is from you. Johnny Clash 1, 30th Century Man. Bellew just called Joshua the fastest combination punching heavyweight since Mike Tyson. I mean, where do you even start with Bellew? I mean, the first thing I'll say about him is this.
Who's Tony Bellew beat? Who's world class, Rocky? Who has he beat?
No more said. Joshua's got decent combination punching, decent speed, but Mike Tyson used to absolutely fucking evaporate people with his combination punching, and Josh was nowhere near on that level of combination speed and punching power, I would say anyway. Fucking hell.
Oh dear. Dillian White, another one from you, Andy. Dillian White has slammed idiot Wilder for sacking trainer Mark Breland.
The irony is lost on that man. Honestly, Christ, get yourself back to Mark Tibbs pronto.
Get back to Tibbs.
Was it Tibbs? It was Tibbs he was training.
Yeah, it was Tibbs.
Tibbs. Fucking idiot, man. just in the Breland situation, that is wrong, man. I mean, listen, you need guys like that. No yes men like JD's. Breland, we said it as well. When you see blood coming out of fighters' ear, you got to be thinking, fucking, what is he got a burst eardrum? Or is that something else? And at the end of the day, Breland's been there, seen it, and done it at all levels, and he shouldn't be having to apologise to anybody for what he did. And to hear about him, I don't know if it was confirmed, but to hear about him getting kicked out the dressing room in tears, begging to get back in and stuff like that is just fucking wrong. Because there's someone in that corner who cared about his fighter, who did the right thing. While they wanted a body in his record, they didn't think it was wanting to be his own fucking body anyway. Put it that way.
Absolutely, it's disgusting the way Mark Breland has been treated. Dillian White needs to recognise. Another one from you, Andy. Ivan Redcatch. It's like a poorly Conor McGregor situation, this, isn't it? My target. I'm visualise every day about this boy, how I will beat him. At Adrian Broner. Redcatch is desperate for that smoke.
He's also been a wee bit racist there with putting this boy in there. We know Redcatch likes to wear the Mexican wall.
He loves a bit of racism, doesn't he,
Yeah.
Redcatch?
Remember, he had the Mexican wall on his trunks and got iced off a Mexican. Remember, That's
Shit out of him, yeah.
that was fucking brilliant. Broner, I hate Broner. Broner would light his ass up like a Christmas tree. Broner would kill him.
Oh, he would. Old AB. David Almond, 86, is nominated Matchroom Boxing. They're doing another on this day. On this day in 2018, how can you forget? How can you forget where you all were when Reshat Mati secured the KO on his pro debut in Chicago at DAZN, next out on November the 7th, Haney Gamboa. Do you remember that, Andy? Reshat Mati, 2018? I mean, fuck me. It's embedded in the memory. How could you forget?
Who is that person?
He got a KO on his debut anyway on this day. I think they're abusing the on this day privilege. Talk about abusing privileges. What about this one? Frankie Gavin has got himself a little post-career pastime. Learn to box and get in shape, says Frankie. 1-to-1 and
He's out of there, is he?
1-to-1 and small group training now available from Frankie Gavin, former world champion, fitness professional.
Oh, dearie me. I love that comment for Curly Watts. Fury should get Breland in his corner. Great move. Yeah, I agree with that. But Ward trying to get John David Daxon out of Kovalev's corner into his before the rematch, that would be really a mindfuck. But Frankie Gavin, learn to box, get in shape. As he walks in like the Michelin Man.
You'd be turned up, you'd be like looking for him, paying the money and all to him, like, yeah, where's your man that trains us how to fight? No, I'm him. What? Give me that money back, fool. Let us fucking pay for this.
Fun time, Frankie, on the kebabs.
Fitness professional. World boxing champion, British champion, Commonwealth Games gold medalist, GB Olympic team, fitness professional. Okay.
In bare knuckle boxing now. Smido, not on tonight. We love you. Sam Jones. Yes, this guy Smido. Yes, Smido was putting up some topless photos earlier. Sam Jones called it the Cobra Hunter 92. It was in response to the Josh Warrington, Carl Frampton, the video of the crowd was going round. Cobra Hunter got stuck in. Only at matchroom boxing shows do you get crowds like this. Frank Warren shows are shit. Sam Jones rightly said this was Frampton versus Warrington on a Frank Warren show. Smido nominated him for that one. Also, Zeconomics has nominated David Hay for Bellew of the Week for claiming Nathan Gorman should fight Dave Allen next because they are the same weight and it would be a 50-50 fight. We can hold off no longer. We've got a few decent Bellew of the Weeks coming in, but this could take the cake. This isn't maybe a Bellew of the year.
Can we leave
Before
that
we
off?
do so, Andy, anything you want to add in?
Yeah, I was going to say you should get everybody else's predictions and nominations before you get this one, but I'll go for the IBO falling for the fake Eddie Hearn account.
Oh, yes.
It came out Leicester saying Joshua Pulev was going to be 40 quid pay-per-view, and the IBO came back and says 63 days out, IBO world champion Anthony Joshua back in action December 12th against Kubrat Pulev, so they fell for that one. Bellew, we'll leave Bunsey. I mentioned the Hitman as well. Ebony Bridges. In the last 24 hours, Ebony Bridges has been announced to fight for a world title. We have had comparing with Ryan Garcia, Lomachenko, Conor McGregor, and told she has adopted a British-like Lennox Lewis, even though he was British. It's just this Ebony Bridges and that as well. You know, some woman. Also, who was that woman during the week? There was tweeting me about the situation. I need to sell my knickers and show my tits and stuff like that. But anyway, I forget her name. She's from Singapore, right? And I'm like, she's nobody knows who I am. I'm like, so I'm googling her. I'm trying to find out where's her box rec. I found her Facebook page, but I can't get the box rec. I couldn't find out what her real name was. I actually had to get somebody to say, "What's your real name?" What did I know who you are?
Definitely criteria for a world title in women's boxing.
Yeah,
If they
get your
don't have a
tits
box
out.
rec.
Yeah. Get your tits out, but no, she's like 3-4-0, that Singapore girl, and she's complaining she's not getting a world title fight. Well, just wait here, and the phone will ring next week. Next week you'll get a world title fight next week probably.
I knew a bird called Bridges actually before. She had an STD. They used to call her Burning Bridges.
Can she even fight? Has anyone seen Ebony Bridges fighting?
Oh, she has.
She's beating up housewives, isn't she?
Oh, mate, she's crap.
That's what I thought, yeah.
She's literally fighting.
They should have compared her to Jake LaMotta then.
Ozzy, only one question for you, mate. Would you?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
My man. I bet it was you who bought the knickers off her, eh?
It was the socks she was selling, wasn't it?
Eddie
Mate,
Hearn and all.
I think it
You
was
did
you. You'll be all over that Brazilian's bra from next.
Oh, yeah.
I'll tell you exactly who was I'll tell you exactly who was buying the socks.
I love Brazil.
Bean! Would have been, could have been, should have been, never been. Baked bean, creepy bean, beanie, Rumpelstiltskin. We're on to you.
There's no holding back now, like we're on the final furlong.
Bean gets one surely for his we can't put everything on. You know, we can't put everything on. We can put on Logan Paul and we can put on Shannon Courtney and fucking what's the Crystal Ball, but we're not putting on Lomachenko. Lopez, what's wrong with you greedy maniacs? Can't have it all.
Yeah, you're getting Pulev against Joshua. What are you moaning about?
Fucking Bean.
Fucking Bean.
Any from you, Ozzy? Any nominations?
No, mate, no.
Nothing from Ozzy. Anything from you, Roberto?
Ozzy had one for Patrick Mahomes there, actually. He just told me.
Who?
Patrick
Don't
Mahomes.
put salt in the wounds anymore, do I? You can stew on that Raiders defeat tonight.
No, I've nothing, Steve. I'm just looking forward to the fucking coup de grace here.
Yes. Oh, what, this could be a while, baby. This could take the.
I have quite a few here, so
Let's go, Steve.
let us
Over to
proceed. Then, first of all, most of you will have
Yes.
seen the front runner.
And we are all set very shortly now for our top of the bill here tonight at the BT Sports studio. It is for the famous and historic British middleweight title. And before we get to talk about our main fight here, David, I think it is perhaps appropriate tonight that we just pause to mark Black History Month, most of all. And we discussed it today, and we thought it was actually right that we acknowledge that properly, and there's nobody better placed on our team to do that than Steve Bunt. So over to you for a moment, Steve.
Shout out to Tom Craze for putting that video out there.
Yes.
Tom, I don't know if you're listening, mate, but
every one of us out there, as a defense, we know.
Got a bit of feedback there, dog. But shout out to Tom Craze and that for tweeting that out, who actually got a response and a question from the one and only LL Cool J. So LL Cool J's been on the task as well. He's like, what the fuck?
It's even Paul Curtis. The greatest thing about it was, Rob, I thought, Dempsey, he's been leading up to this moment. We mentioned him last week. Someone dug out the Eubank Tyson rape clip. Dempsey was gathering momentum. He was due a moment like this, Rob.
Oh yeah, this is props to the listener that dug that out, by the way. Fair play to you. Oh man, it's bizarre. Like, it's fucking bizarre. And David makes it worse than David Hayes on the panel, and he's like, what?
Couldn't he Bunsey? I thought he was going to go. I thought he was going to go.
I thought he was going to go to David Hay. Yeah. Oh,
surely he's going to go to David Hay.
That's like sitting on the fucking panel. I don't know. Like, what is that like? That's like sitting on the fucking panel with fucking Barry McGuigan and fucking
Nick Griffin.
Andy Lee on Patrick's Day and going, no better person to comment on Irish fighters than Jim Watt. It's fucking mental. Like, I don't know what the fuck is going on there. Like, amazing. Like that. I got that like in tons of WhatsApps today, like that are not box related, like lads in WhatsApp groups. Like, it completely took fire. Like, amazing. He's back in the gym as well, isn't he, Bunsey? Looking good. Oh no, that's Smitho.
I think it was a clumsy handover, really, from Dempsey more than any malicious. I mean, the fact that you've got Bunsey involved made it even better, though, because he's got previous form, hasn't he, with the the Jade Goody thing, the Alejandro Gonzalez getting murdered skit. You've got David Hayes sitting there looking nonplussed.
Gang rape.
It was just a classic comedy moment, and it wasn't even Buncey's finest error, Andy. Because let me show you, Buncey's had better moments than that.
Ukraine, you know.
You think you're not bothered? You're going to take us?
But I had the two brothers got a restaurant there. I was going to go eat in their restaurant.
What, a couple of African guys or just a couple of black Britons?
No, the Klitschko brothers got a restaurant.
Oh, the Klitschko brothers. I thought you meant two brothers.
No.
Oh, the Klitschko brothers got a restaurant.
Yeah, they got a big restaurant there, apparently, so I'm going to have a steak there.
I've never seen that before. Unbelievable. Oh, a couple of for fuck's sake.
Oh, swear. Listen, I said to you earlier, Bunce is the only person you could put in a conversation and he could talk about anything. But it was, as you say, it was a poor handover actually, because Bunce did give. I went back and listened to it. Bunce did give a good response as such, but surely the handover should have went like along these lines. If he Dempsey, it's Black History Month, and there's no better person to talk about the history of black fighters for middleweight championship honours than Steve Bunce, and then that would have been it, something along those lines at least. But just fuck it. I was honestly like, Rob, I was like, I'm sure a few people have said it to me as well on Twitter and that. They were like, okay, David Hayes going to come in here to talk now, and then it's Bunce. I'm like, fucking Jesus. And I actually missed what Bunce said because I was pissing myself laughing at that point. I just had to go back and listen to what Bunce actually said. And he actually did pretty well, actually, to be honest with you. But fucking Dempsey, man.
Dempsey and Bunce. The thing is, Andy, that's not even Bunce's finest moment. Maybe people might not have seen the Jade Goody incident, so let's just remind them of that right now, shall we?
I tell you what, I was just going to point out, you've been nominated for become the British Ambassador of Fighting Sports, and we might as well take today just to remind everyone we're getting closer. We've been nominated for a big award this year.
Come on, son. Where's the graphic? Where's that graphic when I need it? There we go. Who's the odd man out? Is it me, or the true Paris Hilton, or that woman at the top? Looks like a wig stuck on Jade Goody's head. There was it at the end when she was having the treatment. You can't make any jokes about it. No, it's not a joke. I'm just saying, I wonder if that was a wig stuck on at the end. I don't like it. That doesn't suit her. And then the woman who's next to me on my right, the screen's left, I don't even know who she is.
Miranda Cosgrove. She is iCarly of Nickelodeon fame.
Well, she may be iCarly. Anyway, the four of us are up for an award, Broadcast News Award, on June 18th at the Hilton Hotel in central London. Tickets are 275 quid.
Are you buying mine?
No, I'm not buying yours. So we're going along to that, and the Jade show actually, which was the last few weeks of her life. I've got to be honest with you, and I'm not joking. I'm not saying it was on Living, a channel I didn't even know existed. It was quite good. I've got to be honest with you. It was because it was suddenly there was no hype. It was just this woman slowly dying in front of the cameras, which I found quite entertaining, and it was very good because she was dead and it was honest, it was truthful. As for that Paris Hilton thing, I swear, Andy, if we lose out, I tell you what, if Jade loses out to Paris Hilton and we lose out to Paris Hilton, I'll be sick as a parrot. And iCarly can come again, man. Jade can't. You know what I'm saying?
I've completely lost any track of what you're saying.
Yeah, I have as well.
I will add that I thought the Jade program was fantastic, but for completely different reasons. I thought it was very heart-rendering stuff. But
it was heart-rendering
plenty
stuff.
still to come here on the Boxing Hours. We hope to speak to promoter Kalajdzic.
I'd never seen that, man. I had never seen that. I swear to God,
I've never seen that.
Was it a wig on her head? I found it quite entertaining.
Wig on her head. That's nothing. When he goes, I found it entertaining that we saw a woman dying on camera. We got to see her last few moments dying on camera, and that was really entertaining. And then to finish it off, Amanda can come again, but Jade can't. She's dead.
That's about 10, 15 years ago, before the virtual signals got involved.
That was about 12 years ago. That was Andy. That was because Jade's been dead a long time.
Satana days.
For those people who don't know, by the way, maybe younger listeners, Jade was like a reality TV star, wasn't she? Who got
Big Brother
cancer, and then
Oh man! And then
she was the one that sat naked with her tits out and put her full fist in her mouth. By the way, can you imagine her taking the cock and balls at the same time? Jesus, Buncey would be having a good time at that one.
Buncey was channeling his inner Brian King there, I think. Those are the Satanta days, Rob.
Oh, you get away with murder then, man. He said, and your man's like, we can't make jokes about that, Steve. He's like, I'm not making jokes about it, but that, I don't like that wig on her head. I'm like, all right, man, fuck it.
I think it's with Bunce, right? I mean, I listen to time BBC 5 Live and that. And sometimes Bunce goes up. I think Bunce done really well last night because he brought up an important fact about Black History Month is that Dick Turpin, Randy's brother, actually had to get the board to withdraw the colour line from the fight for the British title. That's true. Me and Steve covered it back for the Turpin-Robinson fight on PFTP. Back, I think it was 50-51, I think it was and stuff. And he's spot on with what he's saying. But sometimes when you hear Bunce talk, he's like, "What are you talking about? Just shut up." I was listening to my interview Chantal Cameron. I'm like, Bunsey, what the fuck are you talking about? Just shut up. Sometimes he just goes off in complete tangents. You're like, what was the question again he was asked? And he's just like fucking talking about some stuff. And he goes that way he fucking kind of talks and that. But Bunce, fair play to him last night for kind of like pulling through that. He did really well. But fucking Dempsey, man.
It was like his Mark Kriegel moment. I know the point Dempsey was clumsy because Bunsey's a historian. He doesn't know his stuff. People forget after Satanta finished, a lot of people liked Bunsey. He was a character. There was a big Bring Back Bunsey campaign. He had these shows over. I went to one in Belfast with Paddy Cronin put it on and Stuart Longcount and all the secondsout.com crew. And I have to give Bunsey his credit, man. He had me on his radio show, BBC Radio London, and that he has been good in the past. Recently, he's been a bit of a miserable old bastard. But I'm not really doing this just to shame him or anything. It's just fair game, really, Bunsey. No big.
It's just funny. Listen, nothing against Bunce. As Padgett says in the chat, and that Bunce does get a bit annoying when he gets a high pitched voice about him and stuff. But other than that, look, he knows his boxing, which is fine enough. But and he's part of the fabric, I suppose, in that as well. He's funny at times. He goes off and stuff and that as well. But I just thought the way he was kind of set up there and that it was set up for David Haye. Look, would that have been better for coming for like someone like Ron McIntosh, for example? Someone who is a black presenter who has been awarded awards for his work within the journalism area. And I thought it would be an ideal opportunity to bring in like say, a guy like that. But then again, Bunsey's been about boxing now. It's his game since his early. He boxed at the Fitzroy Lodge, I'm sure, or it was at West Ham. I'm not sure, but Bunsey knows his boxing. He knows the black fighters and stuff, and he broke it down. I think if Robinson had beat Williams there last night, he'd have been the 10th. I'm sure it'd be the 10th black British fighter to win the British title, actually. And that's way back for the day since 1950 when Dick Turpin broke the colour barrier. So
I've one for you on Dick Turpin, by the way. When I was in school, I was doing past history because I was a lazy bastard. And then about 2 days before the exam, I was like, fuck it, I'm going to do honours. And I went in, but to do the honours paper, you had to have an essay done on a part of European history, and I had fucking nothing for that. So I was like, I'll just do the Dick Turpin story. If we do something boxing, I'll do the Dick Turpin story. So I did the fucking essay, 6 paragraphs or whatever, referenced all the boxing books that we now owned, and I ended up getting a B in honours history, taking it the night before.
B for brilliant, Rob. Well done.
Yeah, it's better than the fucking what I was getting, I'll tell you that.
See? Who knows what that could have stood for?
Oh, man. Tell you right. Sorry, I know I'm going off on one, but it's fucking hilarious. Around that time, there was a lad that lived down the road from me, and he used to study, he'd stay up all night studying, and I was never fucking studying, man. I used to do enough to get by, so I'd be walking home from school with this guy, and he'd be like, listen, I have these fucking tablets, you take them, and you stay up all night, I was like, what are they? He's like, they're caffeine tablets. I was like, all right, so give me one. So he gave me one. I put it in my top pocket. I never fucking thought any more about it. Put it on my locker or whatever. About 6 months later, I'm working and everything. I come home to the gaff. My ma opens the door and she's like, now just tell me the truth. And I was like, okay, I don't know what you're talking about. And she was like, you've been doing them. And I was like, what? And she pulls out the tablet and she goes, dead straight face, you've been taking them C's. I was like, well, fucking call the cops, man. Get the SWAT team in here.
What was it, a Pro Plus or something?
Oh, fucking caffeine tablet or something. I haven't a clue, man. Yeah, a long time ago. Fuck me.
Mum always,
along with Paul Dempsey there, Andy. Go ahead.
My mum used to do that. She seen I was going out shagging for the first time. Used to put Johnny's in my pocket and stuff. And I remember coming home this day. My mum's doing the washing, and she says, "Look, we just jumped out your pocket." I says, "We've been jumped out my pocket. You've always been fucking fishing for that." So she's like, "She says you." He says, "You've been hanging about with the Protestants again, fucking weird goddoms."
That's like my man. She never put condoms in my pocket. She used to just throw holy water on me going out the door. That's fucking good. That was doing me. Fucking hell. No good if you're running up against burning bridges. That one.
And we return to Burning Bridges. Yes, episode 394, Bellew of the Week. It's right up there, isn't it? Let's be honest. It's all going to be Dempsey. Right up there, Andy, with the greats. I think Devon Alexander, Adam Smith and the bomber tattooed on his back. Up there with Yusuf Mack, Ricky Hatton, Sex Slave and Derek Chisora going in on Jarrell Miller. It's got to be Dempsey this week, hasn't it?
Dempsey, without doubt, mate. Listen, I think everybody knew it was sewn up. I think the whole Twitter sphere, boxing sphere were like, what the actual fuck have you just done here? It was just a poor handover, that's all it was, but it would have been better worded than that. Listen, there's nobody better to talk about than a historian like Bunsey. And then Bunsey says that he did a fantastic job, actually, doing what he mentioned and that, but fucking the setup was just, that's what it was, a poor setup.
The link, unbelievable.
Dempsey for you, Ozzy?
Yeah.
Rapping Rob Kelly, could it be anyone other than Paul Dempsey?
No, it's got to be Dempsey. I tell you, Bellew would have ran him close this week with some of the shit that he was coming out with from the Matchroom playbook, but he's won it enough times, and this is a definitive moment. I mean, who better to win a Bellew of the Week in Black History Month than Paul Dempsey?
Absolutely. Well done, Dempsey. Fitting Bellew of the Week win for you.
I suppose he has got jet black hair, so it gives him... I better just stop.
It qualifies him under his own criteria. Well done, Paul, for winning Bellew of the Week, episode 394. And that is where we shall leave it. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We've had a good time. Everybody seems to have had a good time in the chat as well. Thanks to Andy Patterson, Ozzy, Rapping Rob Kelly for jumping on this Sunday evening. We'll catch you all again for episode 395. Same time, same place next week. I've been Steve Wellings. Enjoy Lomachenko, Lopez. Come back next week to hear the full review. We'll catch you all again. Hit the like button, blah, blah, blah. Bye.